I like to have you like take notes with me, not like freehand, because there's too much to do, but I do want you to have something to take home with you. Right? Do you guys, is anybody not from Allen Heights? Who's not? Yeah, what's
CMI.
Oh, that's right, Tim.
Ferrisburg.
Ferrisburg? Okay. Do y'all have a personal finance class?
Yes.
At TMI, I know Miss McCarthy, yeah. Did you say it?
I did.
Yeah, very good. She's very sweet. Were you in that competition? Right, she was a consultant. Yeah, okay. All right. Does Allen Heights have one? Oh, but you had that entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Is that still going?
Yes.
Is it still going strong? Yeah. At first, it was like really strong. I hadn't heard anything about that. I didn't know it was still. Yeah, who's in charge now then?
Ron Fields.
Because it's changed, right? It was Bartlett, and then it was, I don't know, there's like she started at Bartlett, Zoo started. Okay, sorry. Okay, which financial topic do you think, so they asked the poll, they said, which topic do they think you should learn in high school? What topic of finance do you think people said that they would like to learn when they were in high school? Which do you think it is? Would say taxes? Now, investing, right? What's another one? That's not the number one. Investing is number two. What was number one?
Budgeting.
There you go, budgeting, that's correct. All right, so that is the list, right? Budgeting, investing, and the contest we do, the game we do, one of the games is about budgeting, the other one's about investing. Those are the two that most people want to understand. Of course, taxes, I agree with you on taxes. Taxes is kind of convoluted, it's kind of complicated, but, okay. This is kind of arbitrary, just 5 golden rules. There's like, some people has top 10, whatever, it's not, I just picked this one because it's the smallest list, right? Okay, and it's very simple, very straightforward. How much you make and how much you spend, you want there to be less of how much you spend, right? It's very, very simple. It's like, again, I go back to trying to lose weight, right? Just don't eat as many calories as you burn. But it sounds simple, but, right, so on your little notes there, right, most important thing, spend less than you earn, right? That'd be something. Spend less than your debt. If you take anything away from this talk, to me, that's the golden rule, right? That is, because then you can do, with that gap there, whatever you have left over, you can invest it, you can save, we'll talk about that later, okay? All right. All right, number 2, avoid bad debt always, right? Try to avoid bad debt. Or the other word for that is credit, right? Same thing as credit. Credit works the same way, but you want to avoid bad debt. Shoot, start picking. All right. Remember, Everett, pick somebody for me. I'm going to remember the name. I know his name. Pick somebody else's name.
Caroline.
Caroline. Okay, Caroline. What do you think bad debt is? Give me an example of bad debt. What do you think? When you borrow money for something, what shouldn't you borrow money for? What should you? There's things you should borrow money for, like it's important in order to have certain things. You kind of have to borrow money. Do you have a car?
Yes.
Okay. Did your parents? Do you think they bought it outright for you, or did they borrow money for the car?
I have no clue.
No clue. All right. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You live in a house, yes? Right. Your parents may have a mortgage, they may not. Like they have to borrow money to pay for that house, because usually homes are very expensive. Some people do have that kind of cash. I do not, but some people do. But yes, so there's what I call bad debt, and some people might disagree, and there's good debt. There is debt that you should have. You may think of something that is okay to borrow for. Yeah.
I feel like groceries. Like if you use a credit card to pay off for groceries and stuff.
Okay. So you bring up a good point. So if you use a credit card, right? But if you pay it off at the end of the month, it's not debt, right? I use a credit card like that's all I ever use, right? Because I like the points I rack up, like cash back and airline stuff. But I pay it off every month, so it's not really debt until you don't pay it off. Right? So I think it's something else. We'll come back to that in just a second. Something you borrow money for, it's okay.
Real estate.
Real estate. It's a house. That's the biggest one. That's usually the biggest purchase somebody makes in their life. Not always, unless you can buy a yacht. What's this name? Okay, but yes, here's a list, right? I don't know if I put that down here. Yeah, there's a list, right? So on this side over here, mortgage, house, again, not a bad debt. People, that's the American dream, right? To own your own home, right? And then education, is that good debt? Why is that good debt? What do you think education is? Well, it could be bad debt, but why do you think it's usually good debt? What are you investing for? Yeah, your future, right? You're investing, you're hoping that you guys are going to go to college, right? It pans out. And hopefully, you don't have debt coming out of college, right? But unfortunately, it's a reality for a lot of people that they have to borrow money because it's so expensive. I mean, it just keeps going up, right? Okay, business ownership, right? If it works out. But the thing here, though, on the education side, it's something you say you had to borrow $300,000 to go to college, and get a job like myself teaching, that's gonna hurt you significantly. So that's probably bad then on my, that'd be probably a big mistake on my end if I did that. And then of course, investing, you can do investment loans. People don't recommend that, right? People borrow money to put money in the market. So if you borrow money like 8% interest and you try and put money, you better make more than 8% or you're gonna be, that's probably not a good idea. Okay, but this right here is what they call bad debt. All right, store credit, credit cards, cash advance, easy pay loans. Hopefully you'll never do that. Hopefully you'll never have to do that. And then a car loan. Why do you think a car loan is bad debt? Anybody? Why do they consider a car loan versus a home loan, a mortgage, which is better debt than a car loan?
Cars depreciate.
Very good, right. A car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, is gonna lose value, right? A home, normally, and in these times, will appreciate in value, and so that's the difference, right? But car loans, again, people have to get to work, especially in Texas, right? There's no mass transit any good. You have to borrow money to get around, and so yeah, there you go. All right, and credit cards, again, I use credit cards. If you use them wisely, it's great. It's a great way to build your credits. We'll talk about it later, right? But if you don't do it wisely, which when I was younger, I did not. It was terrible. Right? Do not get into that. If you can avoid that cycle of bad debt, then yeah. Okay, next one is invest early and invest often. Right? So you're young. Anybody have? Oh, by the way, let me go back to who has a credit card? I asked. Do some of you have? You have a credit card? One person has a credit card? Wow. Okay. Okay, cool. No, I think parents differ on whether, because most of you have a debit card, yes. Right, you have a checking account, we'll talk about that later, but yeah, I think credit cards are the best way to earn interest. I guess they're afraid you spend too much on that, but I think, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Okay, investor, okay, here's an example, right? This example here, you have parents invested for their child. They had a child before they graduated from high school. They said, let's invest this money. They put away $500 a year. And so over that time, they contribute $9,000 over that 18 years, right? And then at the age of 65, I'm going to tell you what they have. And I'll show you that in just a second. Then you have this teen here. So they started, like yourself, started investing, and they only invested for 20 years, right? They invested from 15 to 35. They put away $1,000 a year. And so they contributed in that time frame $20,000. And then I'm going to tell you here in just a second what they have at age 65. And this last person here, I guess they just started late. They started putting a lot of money away per year. From 35 to 65, over 30 years, they contribute $150,000, right? Which one of these do you think has the most money at age 65? And how much do you think it is? This is assuming, 8% of the market, like the market, makes so much. Which one do you think is going to have the most money? Any guesses? Wyatt, what do you think? I pick on people in the back, sorry. So who do you think will have the most money? I'll give you guys a break in about 5 minutes, right? I'm gonna give you a break every hour. Just the man on the right? Do you think because they donated so much money, I think it's gonna be online?
No, you're good.
Okay. Because they put in $150,000, right? Okay. That's a lot of money put away versus a $9,000. Okay, so here's the result. So this person has $2 million, and all they put in was $9,000 total. But it's because they had so much time left, right? So when they finished at age 18, they still had another 40, I can't do my math there. Yeah, 40-ish years where it sat there and earned interest. We'll talk about it later, right? So this is why it's important. So when you, let's say going back to eating lunch, right? Take that $10, $15, put it into an account and invest it. I think you'll and that's how you become a millionaire. That's what I mean by that. And that's pretty impressive. All right, that's assuming, again, market conditions are kind of similar for the next 40 years. That's a big assumption, but markets have been pretty well. Okay, number 4, all right, if you have goals, right, you gotta have a plan. You can't just go, I want to go on a trip to Italy next year without put money away, right? But you have to have, and I go, there's a way, SMART, I gotta give you her really, specific, measurable, I think realistic, and then timely, and then I forget the A. Like you can actually achieve it, achievable. All right, but yes, set a goal and make a plan. And if you have to set a goal, make sure you have a plan for that. All right, number 5, the last one here is be patient. This is the hardest thing to do, right? So a lot of people start investing money, right? Some of this, I don't know, you came at home and bring the kids in our school, but they're, I'm gonna make all this, they try to make money very fast. And that's just, it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to invest and make money that quickly, right? Also paying off debt. If you actually do get in debt, it takes time to pay it off. You can't just overnight do it, right? You gotta be patient. It's easier said than done. It sounds like, oh, I can do that. But it's hard to do. It's hard to be patient with things, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break right now. Sorry, take a 10-minute break, is it okay?
Yep. That's
10-minute break, we'll come back to this, right? So there's that. Where is it? Oh, it's sweet. Okay, so let's move on, and we'll take another break like at the hour of 11 inside. Like I said, too long. Okay. So when it comes to banking, right? So all you have checking accounts, correct? Savings accounts as well, right? That usually comes together. I didn't know if you had a savings account. Do you know how much money you have in your checking account? Don't tell me. Do you know how much money you have in your checking account? Anybody not know how much they have in their checking account? Want to admit it? All right. Do you know how much you have in your savings account?
Yes.
You'll have, I guess, mobile access, right? You can do a lot of on your phone. Yeah, that's been a big deal. Okay. So again, checking account's important. Do you guys have a limit? Do your parents put a limit on it? No, it's whenever you want. Okay, so here's, and then of course, savings account, we talked about that, right? That goes, it's in your notes, so you can write that down. And you have an investment account, right? Does anybody have an investment account? Nobody? You do, right? What should you do? All you do? Good question. So a CD is a certificate of deposit, right? That's a bank, it's from a bank. That is an investment. It's a very conservative investment because there's really no risk to it, really. But yeah, that's an investment. But they're still long. Do you know how long your CD is?
It's like a year.
Okay. Yeah, probably got about 4 or 5%. It's not, the percentage, interest rates are really high right now. So it's a good way to do it right now, right? Also, have you ever heard of high yield savings accounts? I'm a big proponent of high yield savings accounts because we have a savings account, my wife and I do. There's like 0.1% interest, very little interest, right? We moved to a high yield savings account, which because interest rates are real high right now, is about 4.5%, maybe 5%, which is really, really good. Does anybody know why interest rates are really high right now? No? Richard?
Inflation?
Well, inflation, right? Inflation's a big deal right now. And they're trying to take money out of the market because it makes it harder to borrow money, to buy homes, to buy businesses and stuff. They're trying to slow that down because inflation's really, really hard, right? Really fast, right? That's what's my take. All right. And the last one, of course, is credit cards, right? Which you said, one person has a credit card, who has a credit card? And one person has a credit card. Yeah, you have a credit card. Okay, the reason I like credit cards, for me personally, we have my son has a credit card account and a checking account, he has a debit card as well. But it helps build credit, we'll talk about this later, it helps build credit, right? And we'll talk about that as we move on here later on. But also, we can keep better track of what we buy, right? It's just a better tracking system. And if somebody takes your debit card, right, they get your PIN or something happens, that's like cash. Well, they can just take that out, right? And there are protections against that, but it's hard to get that money back. If it's a credit card, somebody spends like $2,000 on it, I can say, okay, we didn't do that, and they'll just shut it off and they'll, right? Nothing bad happens to our credit, right? That's why I'm hesitant with debit cards. I'd rather use credit cards. And again, if you use them well, right? If you like, we put about $5-6 grand. We buy all our stuff on credit cards every month when we pay it off. So it's like we're using it as our debit card. We get all the points. We get all the, there's bonus stuff on there. So it's not a bad way to do it. You just got to be good with it, right? You can't go off and buy whatever you want because it's a credit card. Okay, that's the hard thing. Okay, so sorry. I think if you've taken personal finance, you've heard of the 50-30-20 rule. Anybody else heard of this rule? 50-30-20? Okay. No? Okay. So 50%, 30%, 20%, and this isn't a hard, fast set rule. It's just a way to kind of a guideline for budgeting, right? For budgeting. Okay, so your needs are 50%. This is how they break it down, right? Very simple idea. Your wants are 30%, and your savings and investments are 20%. Right? What they're saying to you is this: let's say you make $1,000 a month, right? You should put $200 into a savings account or an investment account of some sort, right? You shouldn't spend more than half your money, $500, on whatever it is you need, right? And your wants should be 30%. That's all it's saying, right? So here's, shoot. Everett, more people. Pick somebody else. Pick somebody else.
Not a people I know.
Really? You should count. Hard to count.
Kate.
Carolyn.
Who?
You know Kate.
Kate? All right, Kate. Can you think of a need for me? What is something you need to spend money on every month?
Groceries.
Right, very good, very good. Okay, pick somebody else. So I'm trying to think. Luke, all right, Luke. What does it want?
Xbox.
Or movies, going to, out to eat, is out to eat a want?
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's the biggest want that people have. I think people spend the most money on. Think about it, think about how much money you spend on a week, just sit down and go, how much do I spend every time I go out to eat? It's quite a bit in this day and age. Okay, now, here, savings and investments. That doesn't have to be where you have to put money, like for myself, right? I put a big chunk of my check into my 401k. It's 403b, but it's kind of, it's a retirement account for me, right? I don't even see it. It comes right out of my check before I get paid from somebody's fault, right? That's kind of my savings and investments. But if you have debt, that also could be part of the debt, right? Anything you're trying to pay off, that's also what they put in that little bucket. Okay, so again, this is stuff you write down, right? Housing, anything, right? So your mortgage, right? How much you spend on rent, that is a need, right? You gotta live somewhere, right? And then food, of course, as Kate, right? Kate said. Transportation, if you have to have a car, right? Or it could be bus, if you live on the East Coast, right? You don't drive much, they don't drive much over there. But here in Texas, people drive a lot. Medical expenses, essential debt, this is just things you have to have, right? Wants, again, restaurants, entertainment, vacations. Are vacations a want, you think? Yeah, I think it is. Right? Some people are really like, I need a vacation, right? But you're going, I need a vacation. Well, it's kind of a want. Luxury items, electronics, concerts, right? Anybody go to a lot of concerts? Not a big concert goer? God, they're so expensive. My son plays music, that's what he does. And so we're going to concerts all over the place all the time. We spend so much money on that, we spend a lot of money. But they're very expensive. Nobody likes like Taylor Swift? No? No girl? I remember we had, who was that? Pinky and Blue.
We have plenty of people
Went to
who
like
the Eras tour, so.
Oh my God. They were just traveling around. So I was like, how do you spend that money? All right. And then of course here, the last thing, the emergency fund, we'll talk about that in just a second. 401k, stocks, rental properties, bonds. These are things that you're making investments in, right? This is how you're trying to passively earn money, right? You can only work so hard, by the way. I'll preach that, right? You can work and make a lot of money, but if you want to make a lot of money, that's where you do the investments. These are people who are very, very filthy rich. That's how they are so rich. I mean, they make so much, they make pretty good money, but then they invest the heck out of it and it grows even bigger. Okay. All good? All right. Okay, emergency fund. All right, what is it for and how much should it be? All right, Luke, pick somebody up, of course.
JP.
How'd you do? Pick somebody up.
And the black switch.
What's his name?
Uh,
Robbie. All right, Robbie, how much, what do you think you need an emergency fund for? Why should we have money put aside? In case what happens? What do you think?
Like an accident, maybe for the hospital.
Medical expenses, that's a big one. That's a very big one. What if you lose your job? Right? Lose your job, try to get something else. Anything else? Accidents for sure. Anything else? All right. So job loss, that's in there. Car repairs, right? Car's a big one. And cars can be very expensive, right? Unfortunately, with our home, right? We had to put an AC in. It's like $15,000. Like, oh my God, okay. So it's expensive, right? There's stuff that costs money. Medical emergencies, and you have that fund for that reason. Right? Very, very important, I think, to make sure you have. But medical emergencies is probably the biggest one that really bankrupts people because it's so expensive. You get really, unfortunately, if you get hurt, you may know this happening to people that you know or family. If you spend a long time in the hospital, even 30 days in the ICU, or something, it is very, very expensive. And so you don't have health care, which we'll talk about, then you're in trouble. All right, now, all right, Robbie, fix my home. What's your name? Elena? Okay, how much should you put away in emergency? What do you think? And it's gonna be different for people, right? So, but how much do you think you should put away? For $10,000, $5,000, $100,000, what do you think's a good amount? So that's kind of a. Oh, very good. No, you're on the right track. When you budget, right, because your budget will be different from mine, will be different from somebody else's. But it has to do with kind of what you make, and what your expenses are, how much you're paying every month for stuff, right? It comes out to 3 to 6 months, right? Of expenses. So whatever you pay every month, multiply that by 6. Let's say you pay $4,000 a month on just on your expenses, right? Multiply that by 6, so you should have $24,000 at least. I say put away as much as you can in this fund. The problem with emergency funds is here's the issue. Our Atlanta, give me somebody else, please. Ask me, pick somebody else. Tell me your name again. Charlotte. Charlotte. So 3 to 6 months, so it's $21,000 or So is the savings, is emergency fund an investment? That's the same thing, emergency fund and investment. Well, with an emergency fund, so if I put the money, let's say the market tanks tomorrow, right? If I have money in this investment account, and I have it in the stock market, and it tanks, all my money's gone, half my money's gone. That happened with COVID, that happened in 2008, right? Hopefully it won't happen, but you never know. I could lose that money. It's an emergency fund because I need the money to be there, right? So a lot of times people put this into a savings account, which to me, like I was saying earlier, earns like 0.1%. It doesn't earn a whole lot, right? It's just there, so you have it. And so that's different, to me, that's different than an investment account. Because I'm trying to make a lot of money in this investment account for the future. The savings account, or this emergency fund, I want to make sure is there for emergency, right? So it's a little different. It is different. You can earn money, like those high yield savings accounts earn like 5%, that's pretty good. That to me is almost like an investment. That's why I like those things. But you don't want to like play the stock market with that money, right? That's a different, so they're kind of different buckets, right? Okay. Thank you. All right. Debt or credit? Same thing? Okay, we'll talk about debt and credit. All right. Hopefully none of you have debt, right? Some of you know, right? None of you have credit cards, so hopefully none of you have debt.
No.
Probably have debt. You have debt? You're like 12. How do you have debt?
I have to, well, I was just saying my brother overspent credit card.
What is debt? All right. So again, it's basically an IOU. It's money you owe, right? So essentially, you have a lender, right? It could be for a mortgage, could be for a car, could be a credit card, right? You have companies that are your credit cards. Your credit card has a company on it that's letting you borrow money, right? Against this account, right? Okay, it's a loan, money that you owe. You got to pay it back. Do you guys understand the idea of plus interest, right? Money's not free. When you borrow money, that's how banks make so much money, right? That's why banks want your money in the savings account. I was asking you about a savings account. That's why they pay you a small interest rate because they can make money. So let's say you have $100,000 to put away in a savings account that's earning 4%. They're gonna take that money and they're going to let somebody else borrow it for like 8% or 6%, right? They're gonna make money off of your money. That's why they want it. That's why they charge you interest. Okay, it's not free. Now, if you borrow from a friend or family, maybe they don't charge you interest, right? That's different. But if you go to an institution, they're gonna make you pay for it. Okay. Why and types of debt. So we talked about this briefly. Okay, so I lost Charlie, you lost, right? Okay, thanks a minute. Wait, we haven't heard from. Your name is?
Anna.
Anna, all right, Anna. Okay, so again, we talked about some of the things that that we borrow money for. Go through that again. What do you borrow money for? What's the big one? House is a big one, yes. It's called a mortgage. Yeah.
Not cars.
Well, if you have to, a lot of people borrow money for a car, right? But the car could be a car loan, right?
Businesses?
Right, if you want to start a business, right, or if you want to invest in your own business, raise capital, or borrow money to start another. What's a big one? Hopefully you might not have. Coming up, right?
Oh.
Student debt is a big one. It's a big one. But again, hopefully your parents are nice to you, or you have scholarships, or that's always a good thing. Right. So these are kind of things, right? So college startup investment. We talked about this briefly, right? You have good versus bad debt, right? But anybody listen to Dave Ramsey? He's an older guy. Did Mr. McCarthy ever talk about it? I don't like him that much, but he says a lot of good things. But he's all like, no debt, already. He buys houses with cash. Like, how do you have that much cash? But I kind of understand. Okay. Then we have what we call types of debt. Right? Here are the types of debt. Credit cards, again, we already did this already. Student loans, other loans, small business. Very, very simple. Okay. That's, again, credit, debt, kind of the same thing. Okay. Okay, now how to pay that. If you get into debt, right? So go back. So hopefully you will not ever get into debt, right? Like a lot of debt. If you have a house, that's great. If you have a mortgage, my wife and I recently paid off our house, which we're very happy about that. It took us a while, but we paid it off. So we're literally debt free, but when we got out of school, both of them had like $100,000 in student debt, and we were in debt a lot, so we paid it off. And so our credit scores were really good. But so you want to try and be not in debt, but sometimes you can't help it. If you find yourself in a lot of trouble, right, which hopefully you won't, like credit cards, that's a big one. I think your parents are pretty smart. You guys are here doing this, right? But I think your parents are pretty smart about their money, probably helping you understand this stuff. But if you, there's a couple of ways you can you can do this, right? One method is called the avalanche method, right? There's two different methods of ways of getting out of debt, right? Okay, so let's say you have a credit card, you have a mortgage, you have student debts, you have a credit card, you have an auto loan, right? Let's say those are, and maybe some medical debt, right? Just because health insurance doesn't pay for everything. So let's say you have some debt from healthcare. You can what they're saying to do here is basically look at the interest rates of each one. So student loans probably the lowest interest rate. Usually they have pretty low interest rates. And the mortgage itself too, that's a very big one. That one you just kind of pay off as you can. But credit cards, you get credit card debt. Remember, let me go back to credit cards. Raymond, was it you that said we talking about credit cards? You would put on the credit cards. What's that?
I would like to use it for groceries.
Yeah.
Small everyday purchases.
That's what you mentioned, right? So let's say you use credit card like myself. We use a credit. We spend on groceries, buy a lot of things with credit card. But every month we pay it off. Let's say we couldn't. We had something happened. We had to carry that over to the next month. Right? You only have to pay a minimum amount. And if you know that, right? You have a credit card. Say you put $1,000 on it, right? If you pay it off, great. If not, they'll charge you a minimum fee, a minimum amount. Let's say it's $30 or $40. That's why they're so big. Right? Oh, I pay $30. I paid $1,000. They're going to charge you interest for that. They're going to charge you interest on the fact that you didn't pay it all off in that month. You get like a month to pay off, right? So you carry it over to the next month, and then you buy some more stuff and you carry it over that. And so that minimum payment grows, but you're not paying it off. But every time all that excess, all that extra that you have on the card that you haven't paid off, they're going to charge you interest. And usually it's like 20, 25%. It's a lot. And that starts growing up fast. That's why it's so hard to get out of debt. But that's usually the one you hit first. When they say avalanche method, they say, you have a credit card debt, that's the first one you tack first. Just hit that as hard as you can. You can make extra payments on it, make extra payments on it, and so on, right? Now, the second one, which I prefer actually, is a snowball method. That one just looks at balances, right? So for instance, usually your mortgage is your highest. Student loans pretty high, right? That's pretty up there. Credit cards are hopefully not too high, but they're usually the smaller ones. So you would still pay off those first. Why do you think, Raymond, I don't know, shoot. I'm losing time. Sean, who'd you pick? And argument, who picked?
Berkeley.
Berkeley. Berkeley. Why do you think people prefer the snowball method? Hitting the smallest balances first versus this one. This one makes sense mathematically. Like you pay off the lowest interest, so then grow the fastest. But why do you think somebody would choose the snowball method instead of?
It's easier to spend like $20 first than like 12 months.
Or you're trying to pay it off, right? So I think it's more of a psychological thing. Like I have this $5 credit card. Let me pay that off. Okay, that's out. I'm done. It just helps, I think, psychologically to do that.
Getting used to it.
It's like when you have a long list of stuff to do, right? What do you hit first? Well, I don't know. I hit the ones right. I hit the things I can do more quickly. So it's off my list. And so like, it's like 20 things I gotta do, right? Usually more complicated stuff I wait to the end. Or you can be the one where I think, it depends on how you want to do it, right? That's kind of how it works in this as well. Thank you. All right, so, okay. This is not, I think this is an extra sheet in here. I think I put this in there, I apologize. But I put the FICO score thing down separately. I went back and looked at this, right? So, yeah, it's right there. Yeah, it's just sheet. We'll just go through it. So, you have something called a FICO score, right? And this is just a way of gauging. So I don't think many of you, except the person who has a credit card, right, might have a credit score, but most of you won't have a FICO score, right? Because you haven't borrowed any money, you haven't paid off any debts, right? You haven't accrued any kind of credit, or you haven't used credit. So if you don't use credit, you're not going to have a credit score, which is fine. That's most of us, right? That's why we started my son early. We got him on our card when he was 15 or 16. I forget when we got him on there, and so he's developing a credit score, right? But this is how they look at credit. And in the game, in the budget game that you're going to play, this is going to be a big part of it. You want to build your credit score, right? That's part of the game. Okay, but this is how you do it, right? This is what they look at for your FICO score. And the scores go from like 350, I think I'm going to have it really, to like 850. That's like the high end, right? You want to have a high score, right? Okay, but they base it basically on, so 35% is your payment history. That's if you pay your bills, right? You pay your bills on time, you pay out credit cards. Those are all good things, right? That's a good track record that they want to see. I say they, I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, amounts you owe, like what do you owe for, right? How much do you owe and what do you owe for? Right, that's the credit mix, is what do you owe for, right? Is it credit cards, is it home, is it student loans, there's all kinds of things you can owe money for, so auto loan, right? Length of your credit history, that's 15%. This kind of goes all into the new credit, right? goes into what you're trying to pay off. Okay. But in the game, I'll give you a hint right now. I'll do it again. If you want to win the game, which you pay out $500 for the winner, if you want to win the game, right? Both the stock market game and the budget game, she's giving for first place $500. Okay. When you use your credit card in the game, don't, if you can avoid this, sometimes you can't avoid it, right? If you can avoid it, don't use more than half of what you have available. They're going to give you an available limit. Like here's $1,000 you have available on the credit card, right? Most credit cards have that. Sometimes it's $10,000 and it goes up. But if you can keep it under 50%, that's a good thing in the game. And it's also a good thing that what they're trying to show you is just because you have like 4 credit cards, you have like $20,000 available credit. Don't use it all. That's the whole point. It's available to you. Use what you need, and then pay it off. Right? That's the idea. And we'll come back to that when we talk about the game itself. Okay. But these are different scores, right? Sorry. So anything below 580 is poor. Again, the lenders are people you're borrowing for your house. If you have a good credit score, they'll give you a lower interest rate, right? And they'll let you borrow the money. Any kind of it tells the lender that you're a good risk. That's why they charge you. That's why they charge you higher interest. If you're a bad risk, they're going to charge you more interest. Like, look, you might not pay it back. Someone get that money back. All right. So fair is that's the score. These are kind of arbitrary, but it's roughly there. Many lenders will approve your loan. So if you're here, you're not going to get a loan, right? You go to the bank trying to get a loan for a house or whatever. They're going to buy your money once you get that credit score up. Okay. But if you're here, they'll approve your loan if you're at the 600 range, but they're going to give you a higher interest rate. It's going to be worse for you, right? If you're in the good area, most lenders, again, this is a good score, and the higher you go, the more available the credit's going to be for, right? And at a better interest rate, because you want to get a low interest rate. Again, right now, interest rates are high, so not a lot of people are buying homes right now because they have to borrow money for that, and it's like interest rates. Like, we bought our first home, we were saying like 2000, like interest rates were like in the 3 or 4%, but we bought our last house, interest rates like 2.5%, like really low, which is good if it's 100,000. It's a big house, right? You have a lot of money you're borrowing, a lower interest rate, the better. Okay. All right, this is what lowers your credit scores, right? So in the budget game, right, you want to win. Like I said, don't miss payments. If you miss payments, it'll hit your credit card. It'll lower your score. Okay, you got to make every payment. Did y'all bring your laptops? Some of you bring it? Okay. If you did, we're going to try and get you registered for the game and get started on that. I think you can try and use your phone. We'll start there if you want to, but if you have a laptop, it'll be a lot easier. Okay. Don't miss payments. Don't use too much credit. I just talked about that, right? If you use too much credit, that looks bad. Okay. Short credit history or none at all. That's unfortunately you guys right now, but that's not bad. That's just what it is, right? Develop your credit history. So when you go off to college, well, the best thing is just to open up to have a credit card and to actually. And parents will think, oh, no, but that's the best way to build credit, right? Use it wisely. Use it the right way. Pay it off, and you'll build credit. But you can also, let's say you go off to college and you live off campus. Maybe you have to in the first year you have to live on campus. Live off campus, maybe with the roommates or whatever. You have bills to pay because you're in an apartment. Yeah, you collect those bills, right? You pay those bills off. And that'll give you, by paying those bills off, you'll start building credit. Anna, who'd you pick? Berkeley. Lauren, okay. Do you think that using your electric bill, right, to go home, your AC and your electric bills, do you think that's credit? Do you think it's a form of credit? That makes sense, right? You pay the bill every month. Your parents pay the bill off, right? Because you think that's credit. Water bill, right? It's not rent so much because you pay ahead of time. But do you think utilities are credit or a form of credit? Well, you're paying. Here's what happens. So you pay the bill at the end of the month. So it's you've used it. They're just going to make you pay at the end because they don't know how much you're going to use, right? You use the bill, and that's credit, right? So if you don't pay it, it becomes debt, right? But right, and you can. They'll give you some extensions and stuff, but you don't want to do that because you want to pay your bills. You want to shut your electricity out. But it is a form of credit because it's something you've used, you have to pay for. I was but that's why I'm saying when you pay your bills well, those are expenses, but when you pay them off, it works as credit as well. Okay, too many people say, yeah, so back in the day, back when I was in school, way back when, we would get in the mail, I get something for a credit card every day. They made the law, the government said you can't do that anymore. The government said, I'm trying to think about 10 years ago, I think it was maybe 15 years ago, I forget, it was way back, I was still in college, but when I was in college, I would get it in the mail. I had like 6 credit cards, which was like, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, and I use all of them. So, yeah, if you open up too many credit lines, they don't like that. They don't like to see that. Okay, and then too few types of credit. So if it's just credit cards you have, that's not good. If you have a mortgage, you have student loans, you're paying them off, right? But actually, they see it as a good thing because you're paying your credit, you're paying your bills. Okay. So this is insurance, right? All right. So I already forgot you. Somebody's gonna be Lauren. Okay, Lauren, fix the bill. Somebody I haven't heard from. Okay. Where's your name? Emily. All right, Emily. All right, insurance. Do you have insurance? You think you have insurance? You drive? Yes. You definitely have insurance. Your parents have insurance. Do you have any other insurance, do you think? That you are, I mean, your parents have all kinds, right? You personally. You have car insurance because you have to have car. By the way, is it required to have car insurance in Texas? What type? What's called? There's all kinds of types. We won't go into it. I like car insurance. I talk about it in my classes, but there are all kinds of car insurance. What is it called? You have to have. You don't have to have like a certain amount. That's it. Starts with the L. Liability. Okay. You have to have liability insurance. And I'll come back to you in a second. But why do you think you have to have liability insurance? Who is it protecting? The other person. Yes, it is protecting. So I think there's one or maybe two states that don't require auto insurance, but every other state, anywhere you drive, you have to have liability insurance. Again, that's to protect the other driver. So in Texas or in San Antonio, how many people do you think are uninsured driving out there? What percentage of people do you think drive without insurance in this city? Wow, that's pretty good, 30%. That's good. Yes. Why do you think that's pretty high? Why do you think in San Antonio, I hate it's a little bit, why do you think it's high in San Antonio?
Probably.
You can say yes. There are people who are illegals who are driving without insurance. 100% correct. That's just a fact, right? So the other border towns too, same thing. So when that happens, unfortunately, so what happens if somebody hits you? I'm going off on tape, sorry. What happens if somebody hits you and they're not insured? Your own insurance has to kind of kick in. But if you only have liability insurance, then that's not good, right? Because remember, liability, because all you have to have is liability insurance. A lot of people just have liability insurance. So they're hit, and somebody's uninsured, and they're hoping that car still works because they have to pay out of pocket to fix that because they don't have the insurance for that, right? You have something called collision, comprehensive. There's personal injury insurance. It's all auto insurance, right? The only thing you have to have is liability. I guarantee that your parents have had you insured to the hilt. You're all driving. Probably you're all driving. Well, certainly your parents have you insured. For my son, we have $1 million limit. We have like $1 million. You're going to, because what happens is if he does, somebody goes after him, or as far as being sued because you hit somebody and people always fake injuries, then you're going to have to be. They're going to come after your parent. They're going to come after us. Right? So that's why we can't protect ourselves. But liability you have to have. Okay. What other insurance do you think you have to have? Okay, health insurance, right? You have health insurance, right? You all hopefully have health insurance, right? Either from your parents, probably from your parents, right? From you, because my son is on I'm on my wife's account too. So we're all on the same insurance, right? I used to have my own separate insurance. But health insurance, auto insurance, anything else? You might have to have like right now. Okay, let's say you graduate from college, 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, you have your job and stuff. What insurance do you think you have to have? So auto probably still. Health insurance probably yes. You should never be without health insurance, ever. I mean, it's just, if you can avoid that, always have health insurance. What else do you find out? Let's say you rent an apartment. You think you have to have insurance for an apartment? Well, there it is. We'll get to that in a second. What if you buy a home? Let's say you're fortunate enough, your parents say, hey, everybody doesn't. They buy you a home, you buy your own home. You have to have insurance for your home. Yeah, what's it called? You know what it's called? Homeowner's insurance, right? So that's like to protect, let's say you have a fire, it's expensive, right? Do you have to have homeowner's insurance in Texas? Do you have to have health insurance? Can you go back? Sorry, auto insurance, you said you have that, right? You have to have, I think they revoked, I think you did, Obama passed a law and you had to have a mandated, but I think that it's gone. I think the mandate's gone, could be wrong. But you have to have homeowner's insurance. No? Yeah, we pay off our house, we don't have to have homeowner's insurance. Do we have it? Yes, we do, because it's an expensive investment. But if something bad happened, then we want insurance to cover, right? There's not a lot of tornadoes in this town, there's not a lot of hurricanes, thank God. There's not a lot of, yeah, there's flooding, right? I mean, that's something to protect yourself against too, so be careful with flooding, but yeah, let's go over the insurance, sorry, thank you, all right. So what's the purpose of insurance? Okay, Emily, fix me that one. Everett? All right, I know Everett's, okay, right. Okay, what is the purpose of insurance? Just in general, what is the purpose of insurance?
Save yourself from financial loss.
There you go, right? It's in the notes, right? Main purpose of insurance is to protect, deal against major financial loss, right? And there's all kinds, you get all kinds of insurance. But you're trying to protect yourself because, so literally you could be paying for insurance and never ever use it. Which stinks because you think you're wasting your money, but it's not, unfortunately. Because you gotta be insured, you should be insured. Okay. Whatever, it's, yeah, who hasn't doing her? Here, what did you mean? Asgard. So we talked about auto insurance, talked about homeowners insurance, talked about health insurance, what else do we have? There's a lot of other types of insurance. You think of any other type of insurance to protect yourself, to protect you, not just you, but people in general from financial loss. What else? There's a couple other big ones. And this is always the sad one we talk about. Life insurance, right? Do you think you need life insurance? Do you? I should probably ask that. You don't have life insurance. I have life insurance. My wife has life insurance. My son does not have life insurance. Do you think you guys need life insurance? Like right now? Did your parents have a life policy? What life insurance policy have you guys? No, one. What is life insurance for? Right? Well, like mine is pretty small, my life insurance policy, because I don't make a lot of money. My wife's is very big because she makes a lot of money. So, yeah, mine would just cover my funeral costs, right? But if you were the sole provider, if you were like providing for your family, right, financially, and you pass, unfortunately, right, that it can lose weight. So that's why you have life insurance, right? Just to help whoever you've been providing for live on for us, like financially, correct? So life insurance. So right now, you guys, does anybody work, by the way? Look at that. Yeah, you have a job, right? Okay. When we get to taxes, we'll talk about that, right? Okay. But you probably don't provide for anybody, per se. I'll say a child. You probably don't provide for anybody, right? So it's probably not smart to have. You can have life insurance, but it's probably not payoff, right? Okay, that's a big one, right? And life insurance also, another fun fact is it's tax free. It gets the taxes, right? You have a life insurance policy, it's not tax free. You get all, if it's $1 million life insurance, you get all $1 million. Okay. Health insurance we talked about, yeah. Life insurance we just kind of talked about. Is life insurance expensive? Do you think it's expensive to have life insurance? On your age, right? How old you are? Your risk of dying, basically, right? What is your risk of dying? So if you're young, like yourself, let's say you want to get life insurance. Let's say you have family, or you're say you're 27, 28. You're married. You have kids. You want to pull out life insurance, make pretty good money. You would probably have a pretty good life insurance policy because the risk of you passing away in 20 years is small. And there's statistics on this, and there's all kinds of numbers on this, and so that's kind of the thing with life insurance policy. But if you're a smoker, never smoke. Very bad for you. Get you for that. Smoking is like the number one thing that gets you for any kind of insurance, right? Smoking, of course, if you're older, if you have any risky behavior, right? What age? This question I always ask. What age do you think you have the highest chance of living up that year? They do statistics on this all the time, right? At what age in your life, in anybody's life, right, do you think is the age with which you have the lowest chance of dying in that year?
I want to say 35.
35, okay. Anybody else?
I'd say 30.
30. Anybody else?
25.
25? Yes.
Like anywhere between 30 and 40.
Man, it's interesting that it's 12. 12 years old is once after that, the chance of you dying goes up. So it's just, now why isn't it younger, right? We think younger kids, but they childhood diseases and that kind of stuff, but it's just purely mortality numbers. I won't have a conversation, but yeah, 12 years old is the one that has the lowest chance of fascinating, because they've gone through those childhood kind of diseases. But as you get older, yeah, it just gets unfortunately higher and higher. Disability insurance, that's one we need to talk about, right? Okay. Abby? Abby, oh God, can't hear. Good, is that you? Okay, Abby, thanks a lot. Give me anybody, I think anybody's from school. Okay, tell me again. Kate, all right, Kate. What do you think disability insurance is? What do you think it's for, right? Remember, thank you financially, no matter what, but what do you think, how do you think, and do you think people should have it? So that's kind of a, what do you think?
Yes, I guess we should have it.
Who do you think should have it? Well, you have a disability. Yeah, that's, I see your point. Yeah, there's no way, I mean, you have a disability, there's government helps you this and that, but this is prior to getting a disability, right? So, okay, I work as a teacher. Let's just say I have a small disability insurance. The school my school, St. Mary's Hall, gives it to me for like free. It gives me this short-term disability insurance that I can use, right? If I can't work, like if something happens to me where I can't do my job, I'm gonna be paid. Right? That's what this is for, right? So there's short-term disability and there's something called a long-term disability. A lot of people, it's questionable, right? So I don't have long-term disability. I don't make that much. My wife does. She has short-term and she has long-term, just because again, she provides a lot to our family. So it's not a necessity, but and it's fairly inexpensive. The short-term disability is, it's like when I say short-term, I mean like for 3 or 4 months, right? But here's the thing about that too. If you put enough away in your emergency fund, that's kind of your short-term disability insurance. Yeah, sorry.
Would a disability insurance work for like?
No, yeah. So that is you have what is it, maternity leave? You have time for that built in. Right? So that's a right for men too, I think. Yeah, but just for that time to take off. But no, that's not. So I'm trying to think. We had a teacher in Brentwood. She just quit. She just left. So she got paid like 12 weeks or whatever it was. So she had so much time off, and then she just stopped working. But she did tell us, but it's more private. But yeah, that's a different. Good idea. Okay, so we have long-term disability and short-term disability. Homeowners and renters. Renters is what I was trying to talk about. Emily, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Renters insurance. So if you go into an apartment, you live in an apartment, you should have renters insurance. It's dirt cheap. It's like $10, $15 a month, right? It protects, let's see, shoot. You're in the purple, I can't remember. Pixie, oh, you signed up for the game. That's not good. Okay. So why do you think you have renters insurance? So you live in apartments. What do you think renters insurance is going to protect you? How's it going to protect you as the renter? What does it protect? Because you're only an apartment, right? The apartment, somebody owns that. You're just living, you're renting. What's that?
It's not your apartment.
Right. So they have insurance on the apartment. That's not you. But if you have your house, that's homeowners, right? Renters, we think renters is. You're a renter, but what is it going to protect you? What is it protecting? There's a couple of things. Like you rent an apartment, right? If you have renters insurance, what do you think is going to protect you? What is going to protect in your apartment?
Oh, like everything.
Yeah, your stuff, right? Absolutely. You have to list it down, right? But if you have, it's pretty cheap. Again, I would highly recommend getting renters insurance. It's one of the ones that a lot of people don't get. But I mean, it's not, like I said, $15, $12, $15, and it protects a lot. But the other thing that protects you is liability. Let's say you have a dog. You like dogs? Well, I have multiple dogs, right? So let's say our dog bites somebody and they want to sue you for this, right? It's going to help pay the cost of liability. That's what you're liable for. Or somebody slips and falls and they hurt themselves, you have this rager party or whatever. They slip and fall and yeah. And so they'll come try and sue you. That's liability. So renters insurance actually does a lot. So I would recommend that if you have a chance to do that, right? And of course, auto insurance is one of the big ones, right? Auto insurance. Okay. All right. So let's do this real quick. You don't have to get up. This one's not. We're just gonna like a show of hands sort of thing. What's gonna happen? I don't think it's in your notes. Let's go run through this. Basically, it's auto insurance, right? Let's say Abby. Who was Abby? All right, Abby. You know what premium is? Premium? What does premium mean? When you buy insurance, right? What is the premium? What's that called? You know what that means? You may not. If you don't, it's okay. Anybody know what premium means when it comes to insurance? What's your premium? Whatever it is. That's how much you pay every month. It's just the cost of having insurance. Everybody pays a premium. You buy insurance, you have a policy. Every year you auto health, you have a premium every month you have to pay for that insurance. So they make your money, right? There's something called a deductible. You know what a deductible is? JP, you know what a deductible is, right? Took this call.
No.
No, deductible, you might know what a deductible is, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Something you take off your taxes.
Oh, no, okay, that's a deduction. We'll get to that, right? A deductible when it comes to insurance, right? Okay. So, and I'll just, this is not in your notes, but I wasn't gonna go through it, but I think it's important to understand. So, there's premium, deductible, and there's limits, right? Which your limit would be on. Let's say you have a policy for your car, auto insurance, right? Most liability parts don't have a deductible. So if you have an accident and you're at fault, there's no, your insurance is gonna pay up front. But you're protected so much, you pay for that, you pay a premium every month to have that right? Okay, so they pay that out, whatever the limit is, hopefully it's, not too high, and let's say it's $3,000 a damage, whatever, you pay that off. Okay, but to your car, let's say your car is messed up, it's not drivable anymore, right? Liability is not gonna protect you. Let's say you have collision, it's all auto insurance, let's say you have collision, that protects your car. You have collision, you have a policy on collision. That premium, so it's all one premium for all these different types of auto insurance. But on the collision, let's say you do about $5,000 of damage to your car. You might be in a car accident. That's kind of hard. I hate that. So, did you have to like go through insurance, and do your parents have to follow? So let's say it's your car needs to be fixed, and the other person doesn't. They don't have the insurance, whatever. But you have collision on your car, right? And let's say it's $5,000 of damage. Let's say your deductible is $2,000. Okay, you have to pay $2,000 ahead up front, and the insurance company will pay the rest of $3,000. That's how the deductible works, right? So you can have a high premium and a low deductible. That way you're paying every month for this service, but you have, let's say it's only a $500 deductible, then the insurance will kick in to get that accident, right? But if you think you're not going to be in an accident, have a high deductible, because you don't think it's going to be, if you think you're going to avoid any kind of issues, have a high deductible and a low premium, because you have to pay the premium. That's for the policy. The deductible only kicks in when you do something bad, right? But that's their way of kind of adjusting. Insurance companies are, I don't know if it has a family insurance. I'm just not a huge fan, but they serve a purpose, right? Okay, but that's your premium, that's your deductible. They kind of offset each other. Health insurance, you have a deductible as well. So when you go to the doctor, you pay a copay, for those copays, like you pay a certain fee at the beginning when you go to the doctor. There is something called, you have deductible with health insurance too, but there, let's say it's a $2,000 deductible, as you go to the doctor and do things, and it kind of racks up, you're paying out of pocket. Once it hits that deductible, everything else is paid for by the insurance company. But they want you to have a little bit of skin in the game, so you can go out and do something stupid for them. Okay, I'm just gonna go through this real quick, and then after this, we'll take another break. Let's go through this real quick. And I want to talk about, it's gonna say here, it says, for each scenario, determine if the individual's auto insurance premium is going to go up, decrease, or stay the same, based on the scenario. So when this happens, tell me what happens. Tell me what do you think happens to the insurance, right? Because if you have an accident, right, and you get in a car accident, and you cost the insurance money, even though it wasn't your fault, they're going to raise your rates, right? That's how they work, unfortunately. Speeding ticket, right? Speeding ticket, right? Defensive driving, right? Defensive driving. And you took that, so it wouldn't go, and it helps with your insurance because it doesn't, your insurance won't go up. But if you don't, then your insurance is going to go up. Why? Because you're at greater risk. They think if you speed a lot, right, you're at greater risk. Okay, we'll talk. Let's go through this. Okay, all right. So this is the first one, scenario one. It says they used to live in a dense urban neighborhood with a lot of traffic and street parking. She just moved to a suburb with low traffic and she has a driveway. Do you think her auto insurance is going to go up, down, or stay the same? How many think it's going to go up? How many think it's going to stay the same? Stay the same? How many going to go down? Why is it going to go down? Yes, anybody? Right, very good. It's all about the risk, 100%. Actually, life's up there. That's my take on life anyway. Okay, yes. It's going to decrease because there's less risk of her damaging her car, right? Okay. So we've been driving for at least 1 year. How many miles did you put in your car? In 1 year? You know, roughly?
Like 10,000.
10,000? Okay. 12,000 is usually the average, I think. Anybody above 10,000? Who was from Fredericksburg? Yeah, you got, yes. You're probably, what, 20,000? In 1 year? Wow. That's pretty good. That's more. I just said, wow, that's a lot. Okay. All right, next one. This is Jessica. Jessica's moving from Arkansas, where her minimum coverage for accidents was $50,000 per accident. That's like when I say coverage, that's like the max they'll pay out. So if you get in an accident, it's over that, they'll stop paying. You have to pay, right? That's their coverage, right? And she moves to Alaska, where her minimum coverage for accidents is $100,000. Okay, so her minimum coverage or her, what they're covering her has gone up. All right, who thinks that the premium, which you pay every month, is gonna go up? Yeah? Anybody think it's gonna go down? Yeah, that's correct. It's going to go up, it's going to increase. Again, because they're gonna cover more, so obviously they're gonna charge you more, right? That's kind of how that works. Their limit is high. Okay, number 3, Javier just got married. Okay. Do you think the insurance on his car insurance is gonna change? Did you get married? Who thinks it's gonna go up? It's gonna cost you more for insurance? Who thinks it's gonna go down? Right, stay the same? All right. Insurance companies like when you're married, right? The government likes when you're married. Everybody likes you to be married. Why? Because you are less risky. I mean, this numbers just don't lie. Historically speaking, people are just less risky when they're married. Okay, so it's going to go down. You get cheaper insurance. As well, when you file your taxes, and we'll talk about that here later on. When you file your taxes, same thing with taxes. They give you a bigger deduction for being married. That's kind of how it works. Okay, they give you better rates. All right, Deshaun, Deshaun got in a car accident, but it wasn't his fault. He previously had a clean driving record. I think it's gonna happen here. Insurance goes up or down? Gonna go up. Very good, right? Even though the accident was not his fault, the increase will probably be smaller than the accident. Yeah, it'll probably go up a little bit, but it's gonna go up. Okay, they're gonna charge you. Now they can't, like your policy has to go, like your policy is usually for a year, but they can't charge you. Your policy stays the same for the year. The next time you re-up, they're gonna charge you more, okay, every year. Okay, all right. Everly has gotten behind on a lot of bills and missed several payments. As a result, her credit score has gone down significantly. We talk about credit score, right? It went down. Do you think it's going to affect her insurance? Yeah, you think it wouldn't, right? This has nothing to do with your driving record. But when they see this, it's going to go up. When they see that, so your credit score is important as far as costing you money. That's why you want a good credit score. That's why it's a big part of that game we're about to play. We're going to play that budget game. It's a big part of it because that's important. All right, let's see. Last one. Okay, Asia has just celebrated her 26th birthday. What do you think happens at 26? We know health insurance. Your health insurance, right? Most of you are obviously under 20, 18 or 17, right? That is the last. That's the oldest you can be on your parents' insurance, right? And then you have to get your own insurance, right? So I highly recommend staying on as long as they let you. Okay. So Asia's auto insurance premium will decrease a little. At the age of 25, insurance premiums tend to decrease slowly, but then increase after the age of 65. So that whole health insurance thing had to do with it. But why do you think companies charge you less as you get older?
Getting more experience driver.
Yeah. Well, if you're an aggressive driver, you're always, I'm pretty aggressive. You're going to be always aggressive. But it's just experience, right? The longer you've been driving, you had a great point of it. The longer you've been driving it's just like a record. You have a record of being a safe driver. Anybody have those ones that I see them on the news, on commercials, the safe driver thing? You have it in your car and it's pretty cool actually. I think I forget who does it. They have this tracking thing in your car. If you are a safe driver, then they will give you give you a discount. That's a great idea. But anyway, yes, but then after 65, what's the problem after 65? Why does your insurance go up after 65? Yeah. Well, you just don't have your action. You're just not the same driver, right? It's like everything else. It's just kind of everything. All your functions go down. All right. Jan got a new job. He used to work from home, but now commutes 10 miles each way into an office. So his going to go up with it. Yeah, very good. His go up. Number of miles that you drive a vehicle affects the overall premium, and they will probably be asked on the commute. All right. Okay, let's take a break. Again, sorry. All right, very good. But budgeting is difficult, right? It is a difficult thing. Okay. Let me go back to the
Spreadsheet.
Yeah. Put on the slideshow.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, very cool. All that stuff, yeah. What's that?
Minimize the.
Yeah.
All right, now we're getting taxes. Okay, we'll talk about taxes briefly. The taxes is kind of a hard concept. Well, it's not a hard concept to understand, but there's a lot to it, right? Has anybody ever paid their own taxes yet? You ever done their taxes yet? Maybe your parents? Okay, if you're working, you may have to. All right, so let's not go. No, it's not. Okay. All right, so what are taxes? Okay. You should have the names. Remember any names?
I know some of them. Okay, Luke.
All right, Luke. All right, what are taxes? Like just generally speaking.
It's an amount of money that's taken out of purchases or income.
Where does it go?
It goes to the government.
Basically either federal, states, local. I'm sure your parents have complained about property taxes. Property taxes are crazy in Texas, but they are expensive. That's where it goes locally. All right. So again, this is in your notes, right? Funds that people and companies pay to the government, basically, right? It's funds that people and companies, right? You have corporate tax, you have individual tax, you have all kinds of taxes. Yeah, go ahead. All right, you're good. Thanks, I appreciate it. All right. Again, you and the corporation contribute to taxes and it goes to the government. Right? People, this is a big one. People are, this is going to be in the next election. We have an election coming up. Can y'all vote for the next election? Who can vote? You can vote. You can vote. Cool. All right. Big election. Okay. Taxes. All right. There are quite a few. Okay. You have personal income tax, right? That's what we were just talking about. That comes out of your paycheck. Okay. That's what you owe to the government, federal income tax. You get sales tax when you buy stuff, right? You capital gains tax. You know what capital gains tax is?
If you make money off investments.
There you go, right? When you make money off stocks or even in real estate or whatever, you have an investment, you make money off of it. It's capital gains. You make money off of it, you're going to pay tax on it. That's capital gains tax. You have the state tax. That's when people, of course, pass, right? They get taxed on some of that stuff. I don't know enough about the state tax, but I should. It's pretty complicated. Property tax, we talked about that if you own a house, right? You own a home, you own mobile homes, you're gonna have property tax on those properties. That's why renting, sometimes people just rent because there's no property tax, right? You're living in somebody else's property. Okay, then you have corporate income tax, right? When you have a business, they pay taxes as well. Okay. And where do they go? Federal, again, state, or for local. I did not know that about cowboy boots. You may have known that, but literally, I looked it up. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. Okay. You don't have to pay tax on cowboy boots in Texas. Right? People spend a lot of money on cowboy boots. Right? I don't have.
No, I'm grown up. I should have.
All right. All good? Okay. On the federal budget and fiscal, yeah, this is just an infographic I put in the notes, right? This is just how much federally the government spends money on, right? So this is it. 6.1 total outlays is how much the government last year spent. $6.1 trillion. This is a lot of money. Now the revenue they brought in is 4.4 trillion. There's a discrepancy there. That's a problem, right? We are running a deficit. We're not making, like, your own personal finances should be the other way around, right? You should be bringing a lot more than you're spending. That's the idea, right? But they have something called mandatory that they have to pay. They have discretionary. And they have this net interest. Here, I'll put it up here. On the total outlays, right? The mandatory Social Security, when we talk about Social Security, that's $1.3 trillion. That is a lot of money. Now remember, you've got money coming in. I'm sorry, money going out of my paycheck to take out Social Security that pays. It goes into Social Security, people are taking out, and they're paying out $1.3 trillion. Medicare is almost $1 trillion. It's close to, it's $839 billion. Medicaid, you know what Medicaid is? Medicare is for old people. You know what Medicaid is? Who's Medicaid? It's insurance. Who's it covered?
Disabled.
People who are disabled and poor. If you're poor, right? You can't afford certain things, right? That's a state thing, but they do. Federal government gives states some money, and the states kind of put that out there. And then income and security programs are like unemployment and things like that, right? And then there's a lot of other things they pay for. Now, discretionary is where your defense comes from, right? We don't have to have defense, a military. We do, and we should, right? But that's how much they pay for defense, and then non-defense or other things that they, discretionary again is what they choose to the federal government and Congress and how they talk about what they're going to spend money on. What do you think this is right here? The net interest stuff. What are we paying for there? Yeah. So the government borrows a lot of money. China is one of the places they borrow, which is not good. They borrow, people hold bonds. We'll talk about bonds later. The government borrows money from other countries, and they're paying interest on that. That's how much you're paying. That's a lot of, that's like, if you borrow money and you have a home, that's what you're paying, your interest you're paying for the house. Okay, now over here, as far as where they get the money, individual income tax, right? That's what we pay. Corporate payroll tax. Payroll tax, again, payroll tax is the Social Security and Medicare. That's the payroll tax, so it comes out, right? And you got corporate income tax. So look at corporate income tax. You would think these big corporations, I would think, would pay more. They don't, they pay less than what we, as people do. And you have other, of course, but it's a lot, we have definitely a shortness there, a shortcoming there. Okay, W-2 versus W-4. All right, who works again? All right, I'll ask any of you guys, what is W-4? You know what W-4 is?
Basically, like know who you are.
Yeah, every job you get, unless you're working for your, like, if it's, you work for a company, whether you need W-4. You have to fill it out very short, it's a short form. But that, every job you have another job, every job you have to fill out W-4. You only have to do it once, as long as you're there, unless you want to redo it, right? But that's the W-4, and it tells the company who you are, personal information, but it also tells them how much to take out of your paycheck. You don't get your full paycheck when we talk about it. If you're going to pay tax, from the paycheck, it's going to come out of your paycheck. And if it's just one, it'll take a certain percentage, it tells the employer how much to take out. And the W-2, you may know what W-2 is. You may have gotten there yet. W-2 is what the company has to provide you. So Sendero Hall gives me a W-2 every year, at the end of the year, in January, at the end of the calendar year. And I use that to fill out my taxes, to do my taxes. Because Sendero Hall is taking taxes out of my paycheck. They take out money because my W-4 told them to. But when I fill out my own taxes, I look at that. I said, here's how much I owe you, here's how much you took out. And if I paid them too much, I get a refund. If I didn't pay them enough, I have to pay another amount. That's where when you do your taxes, right? So if you have a job right now, I don't know if you did this, all you raise your hand. On your W-4, if you didn't write the word exempt, did y'all do that? Okay, if you write the word exempt, good for you. If you didn't, you're getting money taken out, you shouldn't take it out. Then you have to file your taxes, right? So I would go back, and because if you're not gonna make more than $15,000 a year, then you shouldn't get taxed. That's the thing, right? So if you didn't write exempt, you were getting money taken out, but you were owed back. So you should file your taxes at the end of the year. When it's time to file, and get your money back. Okay, we'll talk about it. A lot of people don't put exempt on there because there's no place where you have to write it in. You have to write exempt. Somebody has to tell you to do that. Therefore, then the company won't take out the taxes. You don't have to worry about it. No, you don't file your taxes. You're good. Okay. All right. So W-2 form again. That's what the employer gives you. The employer has to give it to you, right? So all you guys who fill out W-4, you're gonna get a form called W-2 that's gonna be sent to you. That is for your taxes, and it reports an employee's total wages, and so it tells the government and tells you how much you made and how much you took out in taxes. Okay, and you're gonna use that to file your taxes. Okay, so again, here's the employer. Excuse me. Here's the employer. They're gonna send a W-2 to both. They're gonna send one to you and to the IRS. Who does the taxes, right? And then okay, again, if you put exempt, you don't have to do this, right? But if you didn't, then you're going to want to fill out a 1040 and get your money back. Because you're going to be owed that money back, okay? Not me, personally, you guys, because you didn't make enough to get taxed. Okay, you fill out a 1040, that's the big tax form. That's the form that people all, if your parents do their own taxes or somebody else does your taxes for you, that's the form. There are multiple forms, not just this one. This is the main form. And then you send it to the IRS. And if you the W-2, let's say you paid $1,000 in taxes for the last year, and you do your taxes and it says, oh, I only owe you like $300, and you get a $700 refund. They're gonna pay you back, right? Or you didn't pay enough, but you have to file your taxes. Well, you don't have to, but they call it. That's not good. Okay. Again, W-2, again, they give it to you at the end of January. That's when you're supposed to get it by January 31st, the W-2, the employer's supposed to give that to you, all right? Then your taxes, you file your taxes, do your taxes, right? The W-4 is at the start of every job, and that's used to calculate how much you're gonna take out. All right. And again, complicated, these taxes can be kind of complicated. Okay, you're right. So yeah, here's why I said, like, when you're looking at, I just put this in here because a lot of you have part-time jobs, and you should put exempt. So you can go back actually now and redo your W-4 and put that in there. You can redo the W-4. You should. Right. But it's up to you. Or you just wait till the end of the year, summer's over, right? You have a summer job, and then file your tax to get your money back. It's a nice chunk of change. I mean, they're taking out a pretty penny from it. Okay. All right. So again, this is just tax returns, right? So 1040 is that main tax return. We call this a tax return. The deadline is April 15th. I think it's the 18th now. I think they changed it. Anyway, it's in April. That's tax day, right? You can get an extension if you don't. Like a lot of people have, like your parents may have some complicated taxes. Like for my wife and I, we used to have an accountant that we used to go to, but they're expensive. So when TurboTax and all the online stuff came, it was so much easier. So instead of just you can handwrite this out, or you can just use a software like TurboTax. I think H&R Block has one where it does it for you. And I mean, you have to put all the information in, but it puts it all together nicely. It submits the form for you and all that stuff. It's like $100 versus like $1,000 to pay somebody to do your taxes. But either way, but some of your parents may have complicated taxes, so they're probably going to have somebody do it for them, which is probably smart. All right. Now, here's what I meant by these numbers are a little bit higher now. Every year they go up, right? So if you're single, which most of you are, yes, correct. So you're all single, right? I think this number is like $15,000 now. If you make less than $15,000, you don't owe any tax. Just the FICA, just the Social Security stuff, but not the federal tax, right? That's why if you put exempt, then they won't, your employer will pull it out and just let you have it, right? But if you didn't, then they're taking it out, so you have to file your tax to get it back, and they'll get it back to you. Okay, all right, due by the 15th. But if you're married, right, that number is double. What I mean by that is that's how much and we're going to do the tax. We're going to do it here in just a second. An exercise on taxes. It's kind of a math thing. I apologize, but we'll do that because I want you to understand how taxes work when they charge you much. But anyway, so here's your W-2, the W-4, and the 10. Those are the three important forms. If you work contract work, I'm trying to think. If you tutor, like a tutoring company or whatever, that's like contract work. They'll pay you the 1099, and then that's a little different. But I don't want to get into that too much. But this is just general what taxes are. Okay. So income tax brackets. All right. So let's talk about this, and I think we'll have time to do this exercise before break. Okay. How do tax brackets work? When we file our taxes, where does the number for total tax come from, right? So how do they know how much to charge you? Because you've heard, and politically it's a big issue as well. The more money you make, the more they tax you. Right? You've heard that, right? The higher percentage of tax they take out. Now I'm going to kind of not debunk that, but we'll talk about that and show you how it works. A lot of people don't understand this idea of how the progressive tax system works. Because it is true, as you make more and more money, they take a bigger chunk out. Okay, but I'll talk about that and how that works. Okay. This activity you will practice calculating your taxable income, reading a tax bracket table, and finding your total tax. You'll never have to, hopefully never have to do this again. It's a nice exercise to understand how this works, right? Because there's tables out there, the TurboTax does it for you, they'll do it for you and say, here's how much you owe, right? They'll do all the formulas for you. It's good. But I do want to show you how to get that number, okay? Okay. Now I want to talk about this briefly, and I don't want to get too in the weeds and taxes. We'd be here forever. So you can take, when you file your taxes, right, there's two paths you can go. You can take the standard deduction, or you can itemize, right? You can't do both, you can do one or the other. The standard deduction is very simple, right? It's like, it's that cutoff I was just showing you, that $15,000. If you made only $14,000, you can deduct $15,000 from your taxes immediately, because that's why you don't owe any money, because you didn't make it above that threshold, right? Now, for a lot of people, probably for your parents as well, they itemize. We itemize. We give a lot to charity. There's a lot of things we do that that are tax deductions. You mentioned deductions. Somebody mentioned deductions, right? That are tax deductions. Some of the medical expenses you pay are deductions. Charity's a big one. There's a long list. I should know all these, right? The stuff like I bought a couple of the little cards I bought those online. I can deduct that as an expense because I'm teaching, right? Some of the stuff I buy for school, where I work, I can deduct that as well. But I can lower my taxable income, and that's why when we itemize my wife and I, we give lots of charity, so it's a lot of money that you deduct there versus taking the standard deduction. Most of you, when you get your first job and stuff, you should just do the standard deduction. You won't have a lot of itemized stuff unless you have a business. That's separate. That gets kind of convoluted, but for you, we'll just do the standard deduction. Okay, so this is the tax bracket. This was from last year. Okay. What this means is this, right? So let's say you make let's say you made $20,000 in a year, okay? Let's say you take standard deduction of $15,000. So it lops off $15,000. So all you owe money on is $5,000. That makes sense? So you made $20,000. That was your tax. That was your income. You lowered it by the standard deduction. So now you only owe tax on $5,000. So that would put you in the first tax bracket. So you would owe 10% of $5,000, which is $500. That would be your tax. Okay. If they took more of that out of your paycheck, then you get some money back, right? But as you see, as it goes up and up, right, as your salary goes higher and higher, or your taxable income goes higher and higher, this number gets higher and higher. That's what they call a progressive system, right? This is where it gets a little tricky though. We still also, somebody who makes over, half, like let's say they make $1 million, right? They're gonna be in this tax bracket down here, right? That does not mean that all of the money is taxed 37%. That's the misnomer. That's the mistake people understand. You don't get taxed 37% on all your money. You get taxed along the way. It's a great, and that's what we're going to do. That's the activity we're going to do. It's a great system. It's a little tricky when you think. It's simple math. You have the hardest time with the math here. Okay, but I'm going to explain it to you here in a second. Okay, so in 2023, that $13,850 was the standard deduction for a single FICA. If you were married, it's $27,700. So right off the bat, that'll be taken off of your income, so you're not taxing on that money. That's why if you make less than this right here, that's why I keep telling you, you don't make more than this, which most of you, unless you got a pretty good part-time job, it's pretty good. Unless most of you won't make more than that, then you should put exempt because you're not going to be taxed, because you made it back. Right? Okay, everybody got that? All right. So everybody had that sheet out that I have. There's a separate sheet on the tax bracket thing. It should be in there. It looks like, can I? It's this one right here. You have this? Okay, we're gonna work through this, right? And that'll be the last thing we do for lunch, and then we'll come back and finish the rest. Okay, but I'm gonna take you through it though, but I want you to write it out because this, again, about 25% of the people don't understand this. Like literally, you go out there and talk, they think, adults too, just in general, they think, oh, I'm making a lot of money, so I'm gonna be taxed at that 37% because I make a ton of money, right? That's halfway true. It's not true. I'll show you one. Okay. All right, so let's do, oh yeah, here's standard versus itemized. I was just talking about this, right? This is a preset lump, and the lump is this one, right, is right here. That's the amount of money, that's that standard deduction, right? Now, if you itemize, then you can't use that money. You can't use that 13,000, you can't use both. You either itemize or take standard deduction. Most of you should take standard deduction, makes it simple, right? Makes your taxes very simple. When you itemize, it gets really complicated because I'm gonna take all, and you have to have all the proof. You can't just say, oh, I gave $20,000 to charity without proof. If they audit you, the IRS audits you, they'll come after you and then they'll say, okay, you just defrauded you. The government said, very good, whatever. Okay, all right. So here's the first one, ready? Number one. Everybody got it? Everybody starting? I'll do the math. Actually, if you have your phone's not calculator, that's what you use on your phone. All right. So this is Felix, all right? Felix has a gross income of $18,000. That's how much he made in a year, right? And the question is, how much does he owe in taxes? You ready? Okay. So the first thing you do is take off that standard deduction. We're just going to do standard deduction for all these people, right? Take off that standard deduction. So take 18,000 minus what? What was the number for standard deduction? Did y'all see it? What was the number? For single, be single. What's standard deduction? 13,850, right? So subtract that first, right? There you go. Okay, I'll do it for you. I just want you to think about it, right? There'll be a chance we get to do it on your own. Okay, so that means his taxable income, what the government can tax him on, is $4,150. So right off the bat, and this is what Trump did. Actually, Donald Trump, I'll give him credit sometimes. He raised that standard deduction. It was a lot lower before. And there was a tax bill, the Congress came in or whatever. They said, hey, we're going to raise this, right? So that's why that was a good thing. Okay. All right. So $4,150. Now, look at the bracket. Go back to the bracket, right? So everybody see the bracket? Where does that put this person? 10%, 12%? Where does it put them? Does everybody see it puts you in the 10%? I don't have it up here, but I pull it back. But they put you in the 10%. So we're going to take 10% of that number, and that's what they owe in taxes. Is that simple? Okay. So it puts you in the 10% bracket, right? Because what does 10% go from 0 to 10,000? It goes from 0 to 11,000. Sorry. So if your taxable income, not your gross, right? His gross was 18,000. That's not what we're looking at. You look at the taxable income, where that puts you in the bracket. So his tax bracket, Felix's tax bracket is 10%, right? That's his tax bracket. Now, did he pay 10% of all his money? No. If you take 10% of $18,000, that's $1,800. He didn't pay near that because of the tax deduction. Okay? All right, that's the first one. All right, so total taxes owed is $415. Yeah? Pretty easy, that's an easy one. Good? All right, that's the first one. Okay. Did you go over this one? Did you go over this one? It's all right.
Oh,
Tax brackets. Yes, it's a good one. Okay, all right, the next one, we'll go with that one. All right, next one would be Serena. Serena made $42,000, so she made more money, right? So it's gonna keep going up. All right, she's single, right? How much does she owe in federal taxes? Okay, what's the first thing we do? Take out that standard deduction, right? Every single time, take out that standard deduction. So now her taxable income, right, is $28,150. So what tax bracket, if you look at the bracket, sorry, I was on one page. What tax bracket does that put us in? Is she still in the 10%, is she in the 10% bracket? She's in 12%. Do we see that? Okay, now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Okay, so each one of us, you make, let's say you make $1 million and I make $100,000, we're gonna pay the same amount of taxes on the money, right? You're gonna pay more taxes, you make more money, but on that $100,000 that I made, your first $100,000, we're all gonna pay the same tax. Now, after that, you pay more because you made more money. This is how it's gonna work. So, you have to do two calculations here. You're gonna do it for 10%, because you're going through that, the first $11,000 she made, or that's taxable, is gonna be taxed at 10%, and the next part is gonna be taxed at 12%. Make sense? All right, so that 10%, right? So it's $11,000 of the $28,150 will be taxed at 10%. And the rest left over, we tax at $17,150. That's how much, does that make sense? Do you understand where, the tricky part is where the $17,150 came from? You see where that came from? That's what's left, right? This is the part that's left over after you took $11,000. So your first $11,000 is taxed at 10%. Your next $17,150 is taxed at 12%. Sense?
Oh, I remember.
Which is fine. Okay, so we haven't calculated the taxes yet, but that's, so we just broke them up into two parts, right? 11,000 at 10%, and then 17,000. What is the top? What is 12% going to? 44,000, right? Goes up to 44,000. We didn't get that far, right? She didn't make that much, right? But it put her in the second tax bracket. Okay, now, what you do is you take the 10% of the $11,000, right? So that's how much she owed from that tax bracket. And then you take 12% of the other money she owed in the second tax bracket, and you add them together. And that's her total tax. That makes sense? All right. So then you add those together. So she owes in taxes 3158. Now, can somebody real quick take 3158 and divide by 42,000? Take 3158 and divide by no, divide by 28,150. Sorry. Take 3158 and divide by 28,150 for tax one. Okay. 0.112. Correct. 11%. Okay. So she paid of the taxable income. She only paid 11%. Where remember, what tax bracket is she in? She's in the 12% tax bracket. So it wasn't the same as what it. Because a lot of people think once you're in that tax bracket, that's how much you owe percent-wise, but it's not. We're gonna do a different calculation first. Okay. So we're going with this one. It's a little harder. That's it. Okay. Let's move on. All right. This is Kennedy. He's making more. Making six figures. Or her. Sorry. So $105,000. Right. That's how much. That's gross income. Okay. What is her total tax due? And what's the first thing we do? Take out the standard deduction, which was $13,850. This was in 2023. I think it's 14 something now. 20. All right. So her taxable income is $91,150. Okay. Okay. What tax bracket is she in now? Now. 91,150. She's in a 22% tax bracket, right? So you would say, or she would say, she's in a 22% tax bracket. Now we got to figure out what the taxes are. So now we got to do three calculations, right? The first one, right? You're going to do from 0 to 11,000. That's going to be 10%. This is the step that gets hard. Okay. And again, I'm not every year at every test on this, but it's good to know, right? Okay. For the next 12, for the next the 12% part here, that 44,725. That's the highest part of that bracket, right? So you take that difference, that amount of money right there, which is 33,725, and that part of our money is going to be taxed at 12%, and then whatever's left is going to be in that third tax bracket. Make sense? So you have 91,150 minus 44,725. right? Because you're just trying to find out how much, so her 91,150 is her total, right? You want to see how much is going to be the 22% tax bracket. Okay. And then you just take that's the hardest part. Now you just do 10%, 12%, and 22% of each number, right? The hardest part is figuring out this total right here, that number, right? Well, that's the part that most students have trouble with. So then you take, again, 10% of the 11,000, you take 12% of that 33,725, and you take 22% of that 46,425. And you end up getting that total there, and that's how much she owes taxes. Okay. So it just continues down the list. I'm going to let you do the next one by yourself. Okay. Let's see if you can do it by yourself, or you can do it with a neighbor, whatever. Let's try the next one after this. I think the next one, you got to be careful with the next one, because I think they're married. If they're married, it's a different standard deduction. Right? Make sure you take the right one down. Okay, so I get this one. $1 million? I don't think it was that long. Okay, let's try this next one. Try the next one on your own. Okay, you ready? Yeah. I'll come back to this in a second. Let me just read the next one. Next one says Alex and Tori are married and filing jointly. Okay. Their gross income is $150,000. How much do they owe in federal taxes? So you can do that one by yourself or with your neighbor. Okay, that's that. Okay. Don't forget the very beginning though. Don't deduct 13,000. Deduct the other one for married. Yes. On this one?
No.
The one you get, Alex and Tori? This one right here. This one? 100. What is it? 27. Oh, what did you? How did you do this? That's the number that's tricky. This is the first number. Oh, you can do it. Remember, you already paid that. Take this minus this. And then we'll, right? Take the difference, right? After this is that's what is that okay? Probably not. 15 minutes. Okay, thank you. Thanks for all your help. I know it's maybe you're a little excited.
No, it's a welcome break from everyday work, so it's nice.
Is it a marketing degree?
Marketing,
That's your degree.
yeah.
UTSA.
Yes, UTSA marketing.
Your business school has become very
Yeah.
prolific. I mean, it's people always come up. No, it's a pretty.
Right.
I got my master's from there in
Oh, did you?
statistics. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah. Just didn't get that. Oh, Joe, you need this? Have we got this one? Okay. Remember, the very beginning of that next problem, don't forget to take out not 13,850, but double that, 27, whatever it was. And remember, you're in the second bracket. Remember, you're going to be in the second column of your tax bracket. Be careful. Also, the second thing is, remember, the first column is single, the second column is married. Be careful, right? It's a little tricky. You see, make sure you're on the second tax, because they have different numbers. So this is what politicians argue about, these tax brackets. Like, I think this was lower, but in 2 years, 2025, I think after it runs out, it's going to go back to 39%. There's no law, I mean, unless they do something against that. They might. That's going to be probably Trump's one of his
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you should. That'll help. You see the
Seen a lot of compilations.
no, it's terrible. It's not good. Sorry, I thought politics. I shouldn't, but I do. What is it? That's okay. All right, so we're good. We'll try the next one. Okay. So you should. Let me just kind of. So the first thing we should have done is that. Hopefully that was your first one, right? Take the 150 minus the 27. The standard deduction is 27,700, right? And that's their taxable income. Okay. Now, the hard part is this next step. But remember, you're using the second column, not the single column, the married column, right? Because it's got a different tax bracket. I can't remember the numbers are. Okay. So I think they have the answer? Yeah, you got it?
Yeah.
Hang on, don't tell me. This again, this step right here is the hardest step. So again, because it's married now, the 10% bracket doesn't go to 11,000, it goes to 22,000. And so this is how much, so of that 122,300, 22,000 sits here, 67,450 sits there because you take the difference right here, right? And then the last bracket, you have 32,850. And then once you have this part, the rest of it should fall into place. Did you get that part right? That's the tricky part right there.
Yeah, I did it all like in my head, so I just had to base numbers.
All right. Okay, I should show your work. Okay, so we're gonna take 10% of the 2,200, 20,000, 12% of that number, and then 22% of that number. Okay, there you go. Get it? All right, good job. All right. Okay, we have a couple more problems and then we're out. All right.
Stop through.
Start at 1,800. Yeah. 100-some%.
Using the volunteer band?
You have to take her on your water.
Sorry.
I used that for the.
All right, we all go with this? Everybody okay? Again, it's not, I mean, I doubt you'll have after this again, but it's good to know. Yeah. On the Kennedy one?
I don't understand.
So, let's see, hang on. On Kennedy, did you get this number here? That's the one that's probably good. 33,725. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then what's the next part?
Okay? So you can get the 1,100, you get that? Right. That should have been 46.
And then I'm multiplying it times 0.2.
Uh-huh, right.
Oh, so this is more, okay.
Okay. All right, let's do number 5. All right? Okay. So when talking about taxes, it's important to keep in mind the difference between marginal tax rate and effective tax rate. Okay. So the marginal tax rate is what bracket you're in. So literally, the one above here, they were in the 22% marginal tax rate. That's what that's where you sit, whatever column you sit. The actual tax rate you pay is the actual calculation you do. So let me show you. So marginal tax rate, again, is the highest tax bracket your taxable income falls into, right? Where the effective tax is actually what you pay. Okay, so for instance, let's do Aiden here. It says gross income is 63,000 and takes a standard deduction. So it does all the calculations for you. So this is the calculation we're doing earlier. That's total taxes, 61,2050. Okay, what is your taxable income? All right, so the taxable income is easy. That's the 61. No, I'm sorry. So the taxable income would be the 63,000 minus the standard deduction, right? That's that first step you do. That's the taxable income. Okay, now the marginal tax rate, they're single. Look at your bracket. Where does 49,000 fall? Is that 22%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the marginal tax rate is that's the effective tax rate. I'm sorry. Yeah, the marginal tax rate should be 22%. So your taxable income should be 49,150. The marginal tax rate should be 22%. The effective tax rate is you take the money you had to pay in taxes, 6120, and divide by your taxable income. So even though, and here's the thing, even though they were in the 22% tax bracket, they only paid 12.5% of taxes. This is where a lot of people get angry if you talk to people about taxes. Like, oh, man, not really. You're really paying less than you think you're paying. Right? That's the whole point of this exercise. I want you to understand how our progressive tax system works. You might get in an argument with somebody about it, but hopefully you'll win that argument because this is how it works, right? So we all pay the same taxes, but if you make more money, it obviously puts you up in the higher level of paying more of it. You're just paying a bigger chunk. But like I said, you make $1 million, I mean, $100,000, we pay the same amount of money on the $100,000. After that, you pay more. Okay? All right, let's do one last one. That'll take us to like 12. Is everybody okay with this, right? Again, marginal tax rate versus effectively what you actually pay. So this, Liam has a gross income of $120,000, takes standard deduction. What does his total taxes due? Okay, so total taxes due again is going to be, we got to do take off our standard deduction, right? That's the first thing. I'll run through this real quick. Take off our standard deduction, right? That's the taxable income. And then this is really long, that's why I wanted to do it for you, right? I'll just, again, you have to break it down into, like, so you have a 10% bracket, 12% bracket, the 22% bracket, and the 24% bracket, right? So I'm going to do all four. I'm not going to go through, make you do all four of those, right? But that would be the total tax, which would be 18,876. And then to find the effective tax rate, you would just take that and divide by his tax rate. So even though he sits in the, even though he sits in the 24% tax bracket, right? That's his marginal bracket is 24%. He's only paying effectively 18%. Okay, that's kind of the gist there. All right. Cool. All right, we want to do the reflection questions, but yeah. So I think we're going to break for lunch. And hopefully. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Does it only have to be? Can you only invest money?
Or you can invest
Time, very good, and your energy, right? Yeah. So investing in general, we're going to talk about the money side of it, right? But yes, when you invest anything, and you're hoping for a future benefit. That's the idea, right? You can commit money, you commit time, you commit energy. Which one of these do you think is the most important? Time. You can never get that back, no matter how well you. Time is like the ultimate commodity. Like when you waste your time, don't just take that on your. All right. Okay. Why should we invest our life? Fix my phone, please. Fix me. Why should we invest? Now we're talking about money. Right? Why is it so important to invest in money? Yeah, so when you make money, right, you can only work so much. You can only work so hard, right? This is, you're hoping to use your money to make you more money so that in the end, right, the idea is, so maybe when you retire when you're 60, 50, when you're young, right, younger, but if you don't have the money to retire, you gotta keep working because you have to come in. Right, okay, so again, investing is valuable for multiple reasons. So we're just talking about it helps you grow wealth, right, it should be on there somewhere, right? Grow wealth, it makes your money work for you. Right. That's what I'm saying about put your money away and let it grow for you, you know, versus you having to work another job or something like that, right? And it creates personal and professional freedom. Absolutely, right? If you have a lot of money put aside, there's a thing called FIRE. I forget what the acronym stands for. Canada's where it started. But these people would start their job and just live so frugally, like minimal, and then they just save and save and save and invest in it. And then they retire in their 30s. And that was their goal, was to retire, you know, and then spend the money doing that. Okay, but again, investing time, that's if you don't invest, then you just kind of have less. So key takeaway, you have the opportunity to take your money and allow it to generate more money. So take it, right? Okay, all right. Again, I always like, I think, you know, this is, he actually said this, right? You know, the eighth wonder of the world was compound interest, because compound interest is such a powerful tool, really. It can work for you or against you, right? It works for you when you're investing money. It works against you when you borrow money. And credit cards, right? That's a bad thing. Okay, which would you rather have? So this is, you may have seen this before, right? Would you rather have $1 million right now, or would you rather have a penny that doubles every 30 days? Of course, yes. If you look at this, this is the power of compound interest, right? So literally day one, and you've just doubled this whole time. Eventually, you have, what is that, $5 million, right? It's crazy. That is the power of compound interest, right? It's just you double your money every day. Okay. So again, there should be in your notes there, compound interest, right? And it's just showing you a graph there. Principal just means what you invest, right? That's the money you put into something, right? Okay, interest earned on money that was previously earned as interest. That's what you notes, I think, right? So basically, it's just interest on interest. That's what you're Versus simple interest. Simple interest is, let's say you can invest, bonds like work as simple interest, right? Let's say you invest $1,000 and you get back 5%, you'll get back $50 every single year, right? That's not compound interest, right? Compound interest is, it keeps adding on top of the other interest previously. Okay. Again, great for investments and savings, but it's bad for loans. That's why, again, companies who give out loans, I have a former student who runs her own company that does loans, small loans, but she makes a fortune. She makes so much money just giving out loans. So, again, investments to start with. Okay. You picture what you're doing?
Lauren.
Lauren, okay, can you pick something? All right. So what are investment? What are things we can invest in the stock market? Let's just go with that. Oh, stocks. So you can invest in stocks. We'll talk about that. What else can you invest in besides stock, like besides companies? I'm thinking of things you can put money into to make you money. Right. Real estate is one. Very good. Anything else? There are quite a few other things. I don't want to introduce you. You have another? Real estate, right? There's something called bonds. We'll talk about bonds, right? You went to Alamo Heights, right? Alamo Heights put out a school bond, I don't know when it was, a while back, to raise money for maybe your stadium, something that, there was a lot of money they needed for something. I forget what it was. But they issued bonds. We'll talk about bonds. You can make money using bonds. There's quite a few. So we'll go with stocks, right? That's a big one. And we'll talk about the most in this class, right? So stocks, bonds, again, we'll talk about what that is, separate. Which one of these do you think is can make you money faster? Yeah. Well, there are some junk bonds that are called junk bonds that are pretty aggressive. But yeah, stocks is what you want to kind of get into. All right. There's something called index funds. We'll get to that. That's I focus a lot on that in my classes. In the competition, right? So in the competition, you want to focus on stocks. I'm going to tell you right now, stocks and ETFs. You want to win that competition. It's only 6 weeks. I'll come back to that when we get to the competition stuff. But you want to focus on stocks and ETFs. I'll talk about those in a second. But you got bonds, you got stocks, you got index funds, you got mutual funds, right? And there is a difference between those two. I'll talk about that separately. Index funds are part of mutual funds. The index fund is a mutual fund. It's kind of a bigger overlying umbrella of mutual funds. But then the index fund is a little bit slightly different. Okay, then we have ETFs. Remember what the ETF stands for? Have you ever heard of an ETF? Yeah?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that. But yeah, it trades like a stock, but it's not a stock. We'll talk about that. That's what I trade. I trade in ETFs. Okay. All right. Stock, right? So stock is ownership stakes in a company, right? You own a piece of a company, right? You buy shares, right, in a company. You can buy one share. I think you can buy partial shares now in some companies, right? You can buy fractional shares. Like if you put, let's say you want to own Google. Google's like an expensive company. It's an expensive company. You only have $100. You can't buy Google. You can't buy a share of Google. It costs too much money, right? But there are certain apps and certain companies that allow you to buy partial shares. So you can put $100 into this account and go, I want a piece of Google, Apple, all these big companies that cost a lot of money. They'll buy pieces of it for you. They can do that. We're going to stick to buying shares. Okay. And then you own basically you're a shareholder, right? So we recently, as a school, we went to a shareholder meeting. This guy he's a local guy, had a shareholders meeting, and just because of the shareholders meeting, we never owned that stock. I bought one share of that stock so we could actually be valid. I don't want to feel like going not being a shareholder, so we're in a piece of the company. All right, make money with stocks. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Who did you pick one? Oh, who did you pick? Charlotte, right? Okay. All right. How do you make money with stocks? So you buy at a certain price, right? And you hope it, so you buy low, sell high, right? That's the idea. That's one way. What's another way? There's two ways you can make money with stocks. The second way, some people don't know, but the first one is right. Well, that's what she's saying. You buy it for $100, one share is $100, it goes up to $200, you made $100 right there. You sell it. But you gotta sell it to make money, you're right. There's another way. You may not start to D. Dividends, very good. Dividends, right. If you have, not all stocks pay dividends, okay, but some stocks, and then you can see a quote of these stocks, and they'll tell you which ones do pay dividends. A lot of wealthy people have they'll put $1 million into the stock because it pays 4% in dividends, right? Literally every year they're getting 4% just for holding the stock. Not all stocks do that. There are some companies that don't do it. I don't think NVIDIA does that yet. It's a really hot stock right now.
It's mostly the big-
Walmart has it. Costco might have it. I forget. The energy companies do. Right? Exxon, yeah, those companies, you just own them just for owning them, right? You could buy a share of a stock for $100 and it goes down $9, but if you just hold on to it, right, you haven't lost your money. You hold on to it, you'll be paid every 4 months a dividend. So how many shares you hold, they pay you that percentage, which so people make good money with this. Okay, so that's what here. The price gains, right? That's what we're talking about. So you can make it through price gains, or you make it through dividends, right? But again, not every stock pays a dividend. Okay. And of course, I don't know, some of you are sure on TikTok, and they have these guys, you see them, I don't know, they post their trades and stuff, I see that stuff like this. They're only posting their winnings, they're not posting their losings. Right? Okay, yeah, well, I'll go back to Warren Buffett. I quote him a lot, he has a lot of quotes, right? But he's like one of the wealthiest investors or the best investors out there. But yeah, now as far as valuing the stock, it says their cash flow, latest news. A lot of times when we get it in our club, like the club, a lot of it is news based. You know, like what's the stock doing, what's the company doing, as far as what was the last company we got into? Carnival?
Yes.
Carnival Cruise Lines, or just bought Carnival Cruise Lines? Oh, Zenwick. No, we didn't buy that. No, Zenwick it's Northern Notice. No. I forget what it's called. Anyway, Carnival Cruise Lines, United Airlines, you picked that one too. Right? We got into different companies based on news driven. He presented it as news driven. Okay. That's stocks. Now bonds. Okay, bonds. Bonds is an IOU. Okay, it's completely different than a stock. You don't own the company, right? With the bonds, you're an investor, right? You lend like the government or corporation or I don't know, like the district that put out the bonds for your. I think it was maybe your field. I don't know. Some got renovated anyway. But basically, you let them borrow $1,000, and they're going to pay you back with interest. So you are basically like a bank, right? That's what a bond is. That's why it's fairly safe if who you're letting borrow the money is safe. Like if you take it from the government, because the government's always issuing bonds and you can buy bonds from the government, then yeah, you hope the government doesn't default. You'll get that interest back. But you're not going to make a ton of money, right? It's going to be 3%, 4%. That's why right now interest rates are high. So people like bonds more than they like stock, sort of thing. They're hoping the rates go down. That's what if the rates go down, if the Fed brings the rates down, the market's going to just fly. It's doing pretty well right now, but it's going to take off, right? Okay, but yes, you can people who are very conservative like bonds, right? Because again, it's a pretty safe bet. You make 4 or 5%, depends on what it is you're investing in. But it is an IOU. You're lending money to a company. There are companies. Why do you think companies go public? Like HEB. I know the guy who runs HEB, Craig Boyd, pretty well. I always ask him, I said, why don't you go public? Because they're a private company, right? You can't buy HEB stock, right? You can buy Walmart stock, you can buy Target stock. But why do you think a company goes public? Why would a company go, hey, why would HEB ever want to go public? They don't. You won't. As long as he's in charge, they won't go public. Well, why would they want to go public? Any ideas? When you go public, right, people are going to buy a piece of your company. When they give you money, you're raising money, right? You're raising capital. That's one way, is going public. The other way is issuing bonds, right? You're just borrowing money from people because you need money to do whatever you need to do, right? You want to expand your company. So Walmart issues bonds, and they actually issue stock, right? They do both, and they just keep raising money that way. Okay, but the reason he doesn't want to go public is because then he's beholden to the shareholders and not to the employees, right? The employees are the shareholder, right? If you work for HEB, you're a partner. They call you partner, right? You've got stock in the company, but it's privately held. It's not publicly held. And so that's who he wants to be beholden to, is those people, not he doesn't want to be beholden to the shareholders, right? And it makes sense. And they don't really need to. They're doing pretty well. Okay, who issues bonds? Going back to bonds, and this is what we're going to talk about. The people who issue bonds are the government, basically the government and corporations. Well, that's in there somewhere, but you can buy a bond from a company like Walmart, or you can buy a bond from the government. Okay. So when you start investing, as you get older and older, like I'm pretty much I'm closer to my retirement than I am at the beginning of my career. We are becoming more conservative as investors. We're purchasing more bonds, maybe some real estate instead of stocks, because stocks can fluctuate a lot. They're doing pretty well right now, but you never know, the next crash can come. Who knows, right? AI is very hot right now, so that's the thing. Okay, so characteristics in the bonds, right? You have a certain maturity date, right? You don't let somebody borrow money forever, right? You let them borrow money for a year, for 10 years, for 5 years, right? It's a certain time, right? Just like banks let you borrow money for a certain amount of time. That's the maturity date, right? And over that time, you'll collect that interest every year because you let them borrow money, and then you'll get all your money back in 10 years, whatever maturity date is, right? It's a fixed interest rate, so it doesn't change. Like, so when you buy a bond, if it's 5%, it stays 5% for the entirety of that bond, right? Less versus in stocks, the liquidity is not as good. There's more liquidity in stocks and you know what liquidity means? Sorry, I'm using these words. Liquidity just means how easy it is to sell or trade or whatever it is you're holding. So a stock like Apple, I can literally, if I had 1 million shares of Apple, I can literally, because it's so liquid, I could put it in the market and it would be sold like that. Right? Or if it's something that's a penny stock, like a stock that's not well known, if you have it, if you have 100 shares, whatever, you might not be able to dump them. Like you might try and, want to sell it because it's, going down, whatever. And you might not have a buyer for it, right? That's liquidity. Liquidity means it's very liquid. Like, and you want to stay with those kind of companies. In the game, when you play the game, you can pretty much, it's not real money. It looks like it's real, but not really, because liquidity is pretty much 100. It's pretty easy. You can always buy and sell. So don't worry about it there. So you can buy it. Okay. A mutual fund came about in the 70s, 80s. I forget when it was actually brought. It hasn't been around forever, right? Like stocks, right? People like mutual funds. I like mutual funds, right? It is basically, so you have investors, right, that pool their money. So not just, they don't know each other, right? They're just giving money to this corporation. They run mutual funds here at Sendero, right? That's what they do. That's an investor. They pull their money in this mutual fund. Somebody who's running the fund is buying and selling stocks and bonds for you, basically, right? In this fund. And then they generate returns and they're passed back to your investor. So essentially what's happening is instead of buying a stock, you might buy 800 stocks by just giving to the mutual fund. They are the ones handling it for you. You're paying for production. So there's a fee, right? Because you buy a stock, the fee's pretty much $0, right? You buy and sell stocks, you can do it on your own, right? It's when but if you do a mutual fund, somebody's running that fund for you, they're in charge of a small fee, 0.5%. That's usually going rate, it's 0.5%. Okay, and so benefits, okay, this is important. So the reason it's so good, have these different things, right? They're affordable, right? They're diversified. Diversification, right? So if you want to really make a lot of money, and I'll talk about this in the game before we start with the game, right? You need to be not diversified because you're either going to make money, a lot of money, or lose a lot of money. That's the problem. When you're diversified, you got some going up, some going down, and it kind of averages out, and it usually climbs slowly. Your account gets bigger and bigger, right? This is where I would push you to try and invest. If you don't want to, you want to be a passive investor, just want to say, hey, look, let me let somebody else do it for me. Give them a few $1,000s, say, hey, invest this for me. With a lot of our money, my wife and I's money, we do that. We have mutual funds, we have index funds, we have different places we go where we put our money because we don't want to do it ourselves because it's kind of hard to sit there and pick stocks for yourself. Okay, easy to cash out, professionally managed and well regulated. Okay, unlike a hedge fund. You ever heard of hedge funds, right? They're popular. The whole GameStop thing, remember that thing with GameStop, right? Hedge funds is one of them got killed. They were shorting the stock and GameStop was flying, right? Hedge funds are not as well regulated as mutual funds. They're very similar, but they do the same thing. You give somebody money, they trade for you, they invest for you, and they make money for you. Okay, index funds. This is again Warren Buffett. So remember, an index fund is under the umbrella of a mutual fund because it's a fund that's like a basket of stocks, right? But it tracks an index. It tracks an index, right? And this is, I always put this up here because Warren Buffett, this is a great quote. And it says basically, when you buy an index fund, you're betting on the American industry. You're betting on the market, which is basically the American industry, which is a good way of putting this. I mean, I believe the American industry is really strong, and so this is a good quote, right? Index fund is where, it's a very popular fund. These are very popular funds now, like trillions of dollars in index funds. This is an index fund still. How's it? So you basically same securities, same proportion. So you have this. So let's say you want to invest in the market. When I say, hey, just put your money in the market, just put your money in the market. You can buy the index fund of the S&P. Vanguard has them. Fidelity has them. There's different index funds. So basically, there's S&P 500 is a basket of 500 stocks of the most popular companies. You would know most of these companies in it, right? And so you can invest in just that if you want to. And that's pretty much a diversified look at the market. Or you could do just an index fund of green stocks. If you're very socially conscious, you can just do stocks that are that type of. There's thousands of these, right? You could do it just energy. I do semiconductors. The index fund, the ETF I traded is just semiconductors. You can just do semiconductors, right? There's different ones you can pick, but it's got multiple. It's not just one company, right? It's got multiple stocks, okay? Okay. But again, they're less expensive than the mutual funds, and they're diversified just like mutual funds, but nobody's running them, right? You set them up, and because they're indexed, right, it's already set up in a portion, there's no trading back and forth, it's already set. And so it stays set, so it's cheaper because nobody's actually running it, right? Like a mutual fund. Last thing here is ETFs, right? It stands for exchange traded funds. This is also a collection of it's not just one stock, it's multiple things, right? But it runs like a stock. This came around after mutual funds did, right? These are very popular as well. Because you can, I trade in AI. I don't want to just trade though NVIDIA, or I want to be in multiple things, right? And so I buy an ETF versus a stock because it has a collection. Now there's a small fee, there's a little bit of a fee because somebody put it together, but unlike an index fund, it trades like a stock. You can buy it and then the next 2 seconds later sell it. You can do that with an ETF. You can't do that with index funds. You have to wait to the end of the day. It's not as liquid. Okay. Again, the difference is ETFs are bought and sold throughout the day. A mutual fund only trades at the end of the day. So in the game, okay, I'm just giving you a hint. I'm going to try and give you some hints here to how to win. It is $500, right? In the game, I would not suggest mutual funds, right? It's only 6 weeks, right? In the real world, yes, mutual funds, I think index funds, those kind of things, those funds are better to go into. But in this particular game, I would throw my money in certain stocks and hope they go in the right direction, right? It's almost like a gamble. It kind of lends to your gambling, but my whole goal of that game is to get you involved with the market and see how things go. Okay. Versus index, again, I kind of alluded to this too, right? There's two approaches to holding these rings. So you need to be an active investor in the game, right? Not a passive investor. Okay. So the active investor wants to beat the market. The index fund just wants to match the market, right? So the market, when I say the market, if you look at the S&P 500, it's what I call a market. Over the 100, almost 100, however long been around over the years, it averages about 7 or 8% a year. Now, some days it'll be more, some years it'll be more, some less, but it averages out to be about 8%. 7%. There's different quotes there. But it does make money for you. If you hold it long enough, it'll be good. Okay. Again, seek out the best investments, right? When you're actively trading, you're trying to get the best investments. When you're doing an index, right, you're just going to hold on to the same investments as an index in the same proportion, right? Nothing's changed. Okay? All right. And then key benefit, again, you are trying to beat the market. When you're an active investor, you want to do as well as the market. You want to beat the market, right? That's the idea. That's how firms make money. When they can go out and say, hey, look, we have this fund we can trade for you. We're making 15, 20%. Market's only making 8%. I'm beating the market. Give me your money. That's how this works, okay? But indexing over here, again, low cost, right? You're going to be charged more when somebody's doing it for you, right? We talked about that. But yeah, okay. Again, don't stress over the choice. Again, as long as you're diversified, so this is what I would tell you in the real world, you should be diversified. Take all your money, put it into an account that's diversified, right? Into funds that are diversified. That's the approach you want to go into. Again, because you never know when the market's going to turn south or when a certain sector. Do you think the AI is going to burst at some point? I'm waiting for NVIDIA just to crash because I don't know if you can. It's just flying. It's just it's amazing how it's like back in 2009, whatever it was, the .com burst, the market just tanked, or the real estate market. I mean, there are times it could turn south. Okay. No, I'm just going to bring this up quickly about taxes. When we talk about capital gains tax, okay, this is also a benefit to buying a company and holding it for a long time, like Warren Buffett does, right? Instead of sitting here and day trading or doing what you're about to do in this game. But if you it's something called short-term capital gains. If you trade and if you buy a stock, you don't hold it longer than a year, you will be charged at your marginal tax rate, like we just calculated, right? If you buy a stock and hold it for years and then sell it, let's say 6 years later, you're only going to be taxed at 15%. You're taxed on everything you make, right? But it's much lower when you do long-term. The government wants to encourage you to buy stocks, hold on to them. Don't play like a slot machine, right? They don't want you going in there and just straight. The government doesn't want to see it, and that's the idea of investing. It's you like a company, you put money into it and say, I'm going to make money because this company's making money, right? That's the idea. So they give you, the government says, okay, we're going to charge you less in taxes for that, but you got to hold it for a year. That's the benefit of investing versus trading, right? Holding stuff for a long time. Okay. I think there was some part of your notes there, but short term, again, capital gains is less than a year. Long term capital gains is more than a year. Okay. That's on the federal side. Okay, types of accounts, we're almost done here, sir. Yeah. Types of accounts, all these types of accounts. Okay, we talked about already checking and savings accounts. Okay. One of these accounts is in your notes, right? So you have taxable brokerage account. We'll talk about it in just a second. That's what you're gonna do in the game. That's kind of just having a brokerage account, investing in stocks, right? It has to do with the tax advantages of this, right? Okay, a Roth IRA and a 401k. Let me talk about the 401k first. The 401k is kind of what I have in my company, the St. Mary's Hall that I work for. I put money in my retirement. It's called a 403b, but it's the same thing as 401k. And it can be only offered by a company. The beauty of that, this is what I'll tell you. This is another takeaway, please. When you start your job, ask about benefits, right? Make sure, I mean, it's great if you have a good salary. That's awesome, right? But if you start with a startup company, sometimes they don't have good benefits. They just give you a good salary. You want health insurance paid for, right? Part of it paid for by your company. So St. Mary's Hall, when I was going through St. Mary's Hall, they were paying half my premium, and I paid the other half. The other thing too is you want a retirement account. Here's why. You want them to match. So it's a beautiful thing. If you have that, if you have any way of putting as much as you can into that account, please do that, right? Because it's free money. Literally, if I put in $500 in my retirement account, St. Mary's Hall doubles it, like automatically, just for working for it. That's a great perk. Not all companies have that. Many do. They have matching, and it's called matching. So ask about that when you have your first job, and see if they have a retirement account where they match. Because you want to put in certain amount you want them to. That's it's 100% return right there. That is free money. You can't beat that. So throw your money as much as you can in that type of account. That's a 401k. But again, not all companies have the matching. They have 401k, but most do. The Roth IRA, Roths are great. The Roth IRA the IRA stands for individual retirement account, right? And I think on there I have traditional as well. There's two different types. There's traditional and Roth. And they have to do with taxes, right? Okay. So that 401k, so when they take money out of my paycheck and they put it into this 401k, I'll call it 401k, in my account, and then they match it, they haven't taken taxes out yet. That's important. This is important, right? They write out my paycheck, the money goes in that account, and no taxes are taken out yet. When I take it out and I turn 60, I can take it out probably 59 and a half. When I start taking it out and I retire, they're going to tax me. Because all money is taxed at some point, okay? So when they say tax break, that's what they mean. I don't get taxed right now on that money, but I will get taxed 10 years down the line. In your case, 40 years down the line. But you will get taxed, right? That's called tax deferred. But hopefully by then, when you get there, you'll get a lower tax bracket and less tax will be taken out, right? You won't be making that income anymore, you're taxed. Right? That's the idea. Now, the Roth, this is the one I'm saving this one because, and actually let me go through the PowerPoint, it's in there because the Roth IRA is a very nice little retirement account. I'll tell you why. It has to do with taxes, of course. Okay, sorry. The Roth was a senator. It was Jeff Roth. It was the guy who came up with this in the 70s or 80s. I forget when it was. But it's always had been around for that long, right? So Roth IRA, it's an individual retirement account, but it has big benefits when it comes to taxes. Okay, so you open the account up if you open a Roth IRA, and you have to. And the reason I say if you're going to open up a Roth, do it when you're younger, when you're not making as much, because you make a certain amount of money, they cut you off. Like you can't. Like I could, because I don't know my teacher. We're just putting money, but my wife does pretty well. And so we can no longer put into our Roth IRA. We have one, we can't put any more in because there's a certain threshold for income. Okay, but when you first have your job, probably making $60,000, $70,000, hopefully you make pretty good money. You open Roth IRA, you put money. Now it goes in after taxes, right? So when you put it in, it's already been taxed. Unlike the one I was telling you about the 401k, I have not been taxed yet. When I take it out, I get taxed. This one you get taxed before you put it in. That's why it's a nice little thing. Because when you take it out, years from now, you get all of it, no tax. That's the beauty of it. You can't beat that. So let's say you put $10,000 into a Roth, and in 40 years it grows to $100,000. All that money is yours tax-free. When you have a traditional or a 401k like my employer has, that is taxed at the end when I take it out. Yeah, so look into Roths if you're interested. They're not bad, but it has to be an income. If you're working, you have to be working. Your parents can't give you the money. You have to be like working on your own. But yeah, if you have a job, it's a great way to do it. But Roths, if you can use them, we started using them when we were younger, my wife and I, but after now, we can't anymore. We still have them. They're still growing. But we can't put it anymore. Okay, but again, here's the benefits. Again, the biggest benefit is that it's tax-free at the end, right? However, here, this is just telling you, because sometimes when you put money into a retirement account, you can just take it back out, right? The whole point of it is for retirement. So they'll penalize you if you try and take it out, right? With a Roth, they don't penalize you. You can take out whatever you put in, because remember, it's tax-free. Yeah. Okay, these are different things you can have. Benefits. All right. All right. Okay, so going back to the traditional and the Roth, right? The main difference is about taxes. So here, it's pre-tax, you haven't been taxed on the traditional. It grows tax deferred, but when you take it out, you get taxed, okay? On the Roth, you contribute after you've already paid tax on the money, the money's already been taxed, and it grows tax-free, and you take it out. That's all it is. That's a nice benefit, because that growth, you can, it's an investment, right? You can grow it pretty well, and once it grows and it's tax-free, it's beautiful, because, I mean, you get taxed on everything. Try and find out things that don't tax you. Okay, if you're in a low tax bracket now, and maybe in a higher one in retirement, that's a good Roth. Roth's actually pretty good for regardless, I think. Okay, but now let me backtrack a little bit. These accounts that the money's sitting in. So when I opened my 401k, with my retirement, I first did it. The money got put in there. Now it's just put in there, it's just sitting there. I have to still invest it. This is not an investment. Like you put the money in the account, it's not like it's being invested. You have to tell them what to invest in. It's just where it sits, right? So be careful with that. A lot of people get, like, I'm putting money into a traditional, but you're not investing in it. You have to invest it when it's in there. So be careful with that. Okay. So, excuse me, IRA versus 401k. I've kind of mentioned this. Remember, this one, anybody can open up an IRA. You can go and do it right now. But a 401k only goes through an employer. You can't get a 401k without an employer. That goes together, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Again, this is an individual, such as the investment account, 401k, your employer creates the account, you put in, they put in, when they match, that's a beautiful thing. So I would tell you, when you get your job, if you're gonna have any kind of account, put as much money as you can in this account, as long as they match. Okay? That's the idea. Because again, it's free money. You're throwing away money. I have some employees, because I'm on the investment committee at work, I have some employees that do not put money in. And then maybe they can't, maybe they're living paycheck to paycheck, I get that. But they're basically throwing money in. Because if you put money in, they will match that money. It's like, you cannot beat that. Okay. Good? We're almost done. Okay. Again, both of these, this is just, so you have the IRA and the 401k, they both act the same, right? They're investments, they have tax advantage, right? You get taxed when you take it out at the end, and they build your wealth. But again, whichever one you choose. So if your company doesn't match, then just open your own account, right? Because then you have more control over it. When you have the 401ks, they kind of give choices, but not as many choices, right? Because they're kind of matching. So, all right, cool. All right, so going to, and this is where we'll kind of play this game here. So why would you invest in long-term versus just trying to do day trading? You get people making, I mean, $3,000 in this trading, don't buy all that stuff. I mean, it's great, and maybe they did at that time, but they probably lost in other times, right? Think about this, what it's showing you, what I like the slide about is, so basically, if you invest your money for 10 years, right, you'll only lose 6% of the time. But what I'm saying is, no matter where along the last 100-some years, if you invest 10 years down in any time period, they only lost money 6% of the time. Okay. I don't have the one for 20 years, but when you go to 20 years and you hold money in for 20 years, you're almost always winning. That's the point of long-term investing. So people say that investing in the stock market can be gambling. I would disagree. Trading now is kind of gambling because you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, or no idea what's going to happen a week from now. Because you just don't have those numbers. It's all over the place, right? You're just kind of guessing. But when you're investing, I mean, historically it's shown that if you keep your money in for a long period of time, you are going to make money. Now, it depends on if you bought Apple 40 years ago, you make a lot more money than if you bought Walmart 40 years ago. Some companies just go up faster, but you're still going to make money. That's the idea. Okay, so hold it for the long term. So time in the market, this is just a picture again. This is when I say the market, this is the S&P 500. And these are just how, over this time frame, since 1980, it is going up, right? There are fluctuations, obviously, right? There are times, again, 2009, this was the dot-com bubble, the war, this was COVID right here, right? There are things that happen, but as long as you are an investor, none of that, it's going to come back. That's it. Well, until it doesn't, but for now, okay, it's a lot of fun. Okay, last couple of things. Let me talk about the budget game. I'm going to present because I want you to all be in the game. Yeah, and Rich, I'll give you some hints on how to do well, but I want to give it to all of you. So let me all right. Okay, so again, there's two games you're playing. The budget game, again, the winner gets $500 from not the winner. It's Crawford. And the winner of the investment game, again, is $500. So you can make $1,000 just by clicking buttons. Okay, so the budget game, let me just give you some info. So who signed up for it already? It's you who signed up for it, right? Pixie, I know signed up for it. Lauren, I've seen your name in this. No, right? You signed up for it? Yeah. Okay, make sure they sent the links to your, I think your parents' email.
Yeah, we
You
send
sent it
those
there?
to parents.
Okay. Okay, make sure you get that link. There's 2 different links. Okay, so let me try and help you like do well in this game, right? Okay, so again, you're gonna start out as a college student with a part-time job. That's what they put you. That's who you are. And then 6 months into the game, not 6 months of real time, but 6 months of the game time, you'll become a graduate. You'll graduate and get a full-time job, and then you've got to basically manage your cash flow, basically your expenses. You know, you'll have deposits coming in. You got to manage to pay off your bills, right? And then also pay yourself first. That's the whole 10%, or 20%, but 10% is what they're going to want you to do. Okay. So your student objectives, right? Okay. Again, get your emergency fund at $1,000. Start at 0, right? Get it to $1,000. You get a bunch of points for that. So I'd say as quickly as you can, but at some point, get it to $1,000, right? You want your credit score to be pretty high, and you'll see the credit score go up as you use the credit card. You're going to have a credit card, right? Try not to use more than half of your limit. So I think they start out with $750, maybe it's $500 limit. If you have to use a credit card, great, use it. But if you don't have to use more than half, don't use more than half. Pay it with your debit card, because you have a debit card as well. Quality of life, again, things are going to come up where you can buy things or not. So you can buy the cheaper version or the expensive version. You have to make decisions. And when you buy the more expensive stuff, your quality of life goes up, right? So you got to have the money for that. You got to be careful. That's why the budget's so important. Okay, that's how you win. Okay, but also on the weekends, right? They're going to give you choices when it comes to the weekend. So the game's going to, you'll see the game, and hopefully we'll try and get in before you get out of here. When you go through the game, it's going to take you to a calendar, and as you get to the weekend, you have a choice of 4 things. You can work more, make more money. That's that 2048 game. If you want to play that game, you can make a lot of money doing that game. You can socialize, you can clean your house, or you have a choice. You can't do more. You can do one at a time. Or you can do professional development. If you just worked, like one of our, if you just work and make a lot of money, it doesn't help your quality of life. It goes down. So you don't win the game just by working and making a lot of money. I can tell you right now. If you do professional development, then the job you get in 6 months is a higher paid job, which is important. Right? There's just payoffs to doing certain things. That's how you get it. You're trying to win a game, right? And then life, again, chores and studying, right? So if you don't clean your house or something, things break down and you have to pay stuff, right? Is that correct? You have to pay for stuff, right? If you don't socialize, right? If you socialize, your quality of life goes up, right? There's all kinds of trade-offs, right? That's why it's a very subtle thing. And at the very end, you're getting points for this, right? There's an objective score. So when she says she's paying out first, second, and third, there's a leaderboard too, so you'll see it as you play. All right. So again, you're a college student, you pay your bills. Let's see, we were talking about that. Yeah, when you graduate from college, you get a job, you have to buy a new apartment, and the more expensive, the better.
Yes.
If you can afford the more expensive apartment,
Quality.
your quality of life goes up a lot, right? Okay. At some point, is there a pet? Is there a dog that comes
You
in?
can buy a dog.
At some point, a pet comes into play. And if you do that, that quality of life really goes up, right? If
But
you
it
can
costs
afford
money.
it, it costs money. Yeah. Okay. Again, credit score, quality of life, and then savings goal. Your first goal, again, balance income and expenses. So you have to set, at the very beginning, it's going to ask you for your savings goal. Always try and do 10% of your gross, right? If you do 10% and you meet that goal, then you'll be good, right? You're going to have unplanned expenses. Those come up. The biggest one is like $800, but I hope you don't get that one. It's like your car breaks down or something and you get like an expense. You're going to get hit with that sometimes. Be careful with that. Again, you're going to get you have to do last minute purchases. Some things you have to pay for, some things you don't have to pay for. Right? You have to make choices. And using your credit card or debit card, that's important as well. Okay, again, set monthly savings goals. Need to save at least 10%. That's basically the foundation of the game. Yeah, we talk about lifestyle choices. You have to pick your internet package, your cell phone, your meal plan. Again, the more expensive, the better, but you got to be able to afford it. You got to be careful with that. Okay, each student will have different events. Your biggest expense is going to be a car expense, and the frequency of expenses. So it's going to be random. It's randomized between all your games, right? All your choices there. All right, yeah, credit and debt. There are going to be some lessons that pop up. Make sure you read those and do those. It's not that long. Let's see.
You get paid to do the lessons.
You get paid for the lessons, yeah. Again, these are just things that come up. Everything matters. So you can buy a plant, right? That would help your quality of life, or you can skip it. You don't have to buy it if you don't have the money, right? All right, let's see. Oh yeah, at the very end of the month, after each month in the game, you will get like a summary of how you did. And that's a summary there. And then after you graduate again, you graduate in 6 months. That's into the game. You got to find a new place to live. You get a more consistent salary, right? If you study on the weekends, again, this helps you. If you study once you have your job, you will get a salary raise. You'll get a raise, right? So by doing that during the weekends, it'll help you. Let's see. Again, depending on how you choose, these are different options you're going to have. If you choose no roommate, you're going to have more bills, but your quality of life's better, right? Okay.
And when
So-
you set your goals, like at the beginning, I think, like for each month, you set like your savings, whatever goals, and if you meet them, you get points. Like that's part of it. So like set, like you want it to be a big goal because you get more points if you meet it, but don't make it too big because if you don't meet it.
Yeah, it's not good. Right. And if you go, sometimes you'll have to, like when I played it before, I had to use my credit card because I was running out of money. And I had to use my credit card almost to its limit. And that is what it is. But you got to pay your bills. Don't ever not pay your bills. That's important, right? But try and save the money, and if you can save more, even more than 10%, then save more than 10%. Okay. Okay. So that's the budget game. Let me talk about the investment game. There's not a whole lot to tell you about the investment game. Let me give you the rules first, right? And those are two separate links. Those are two separate accounts. Let me actually pull it up. Let me pull it up real quick and I'll show it to you. And I can pull up the, let me just do that first. Hang on. Sorry. Oh, this is killing me. Okay. I just want to show you how to buy. I mean, I'll actually right now buy a stock to show you how to do this. Okay. So this is the actual game. Once you sign up, I'm going to see if has anybody signed up for it? Let me see if anybody signed up for it. So when you see, okay, these are the rankings. So I'm the only one in there, right? Now we'll play with you guys. And if you beat me, great. I don't think you will.
He's
But-
gonna do this.
I'm gonna-
Yeah,
but-
Can we
yeah.
share this screen so that when I send this recording off, they can see it?
Oh, yes, and not
It's
sharing?
showing.
Oh, sorry. This is you sharing your screen.
Let's see.
It's not sharing?
Now
Oh.
to this. There you
Oh, okay. Sorry.
go.
Okay. Yeah. So let me like right now. So I have nothing. I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna show you how to. I'm gonna talk about the game first, but then I'm gonna buy a stock. Show you how to do that. So it's pretty easy. Actually, I'm gonna buy the other one. Okay. So in the game, right? There's no day trade. I'm not gonna lie to day trade because it just kind of defeats the purpose of it. So what that means is you can't buy a stock and then 2 seconds later sell it because it goes. Oh, you're gonna have to hold it for a whole day. Okay. So be careful with that, right? The lowest price stock you can buy is $10. I limit that because there's a lot of penny stocks that kind of blow out your account either way. Like you do really well or you just, I don't want to play anymore. Like you get frustrated. I don't want you getting frustrated. So you can't do penny stocks. And you have $100,000 to play with, right? That's current value. It's not real money, obviously, right? It works as real money when you trade. It's going to work. It's going to act like it should when the market, if it were live money, real money. Okay, so you cannot buy, you can't put all $100,000 into one stock. I've limited that. Okay, that's important because again, if you do that and it tanks, you start losing a bunch of money. Like, I don't want to play anymore. Or if you do really well, then other people get. Anyway, it's kind of frustrating. You can put at the most you can put in is 10%. So here's my hint, my trick, my advice to you if you want to win this game. Right, you want to buy as the most you can buy per stock. So literally, I could buy $10,000. I could buy 10 stocks for $10,000. That's going to give you the optimal chance to win because I don't know if that makes sense. So if you're over diversified, you buy 20 stocks or 30 stocks and sit there and put $2,000 in, it's not going to, you have less money in each stock. So when it pops or it does really well, it won't bring your account too high. That makes sense, right?
Because others will go down.
Yeah. Right. But if you do that, if you buy 10 stocks, each worth $10,000, and you get hit hard, you're going to get hit hard. I mean, you're either going to do well or not do well. But if you want to win, I mean, I'm saying that. I mean, if the market tanks, because there are things you can buy that go inverse the market, like gold. You buy gold. Gold always travels kind of inverse the market, right? You can do that. You can try and diversify and buy like. I'll show you here in a second how I kind of would do it. But let me buy something first to show you how to buy something. Right? It's pretty straightforward. And then I will show you kind of another website that I use that I just like to use to try and look for different stocks. Let me show you how you can actually do it. Let me show you this piece here about let's do first. Let me find some popular stocks. So you can on the website itself, You can, I'm looking for stocks to buy. Where am I
I
stocks?
had, it was back
Here?
ideas.
Oh, where?
Oh, we got a question.
Yeah.
Is there a question?
Oh, like a password? Go Barons.
Go Barons.
Sorry,
I just say one every time.
I
That's to be
will,
fair.
I'll send that out.
I think I put it, but yeah, G-O, no caption, Go Barons. Okay, so let me, yeah, sorry. Let me show you. So if you want an idea to buy a stock, I mean, you can do it from here. Oh, sorry. This is
Is
killing
it
me.
all lowercase?
Yes, and no, just Go Barons. Go Barons?
Bears?
Go Barons.
Oh, how do you spell that?
B-A-R-R-O-N-S.
B-A-R-O-N-S.
B-A-R.
Sorry.
I also said Go Bears.
No, sorry, Go Barons.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, that's some seniors, all Barons.
We're not.
Did it work? Or what? Okay, so let me show you how to, so if you go to, maybe it's on dashboard too.
It's on research on the left bottom.
B-A-R-O-N-S.
Geo and then Barons, like B-A-R-O-N-S.
No space. All
No space, yeah, just Go Barons. Bill?
I didn't sign this.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, that's right.
Oh, no, Adobe. No, it's not like there, but it's there too. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want a trade idea, right? So if you're just like some people like invest in what they know, right? So you know a certain Nike or Walmart. I don't know a whole lot about companies, but if you want an idea, oh my God, dude. Okay, let me. Sorry, I'm not doing well with this. Let me do that. Okay. So if you go to trade ideas, it kind of just shows you some popular stocks. Like most of you know what Pepsi is, Foot Locker. I'm not saying to invest in those. What you should do is your due diligence, or Ashley Crammers, or assets. I mean, you don't know however you want to do it, right? But you're going to have to. It's only 6 weeks, so this is not how I would tell you to do it in the real world, right? This is not how you should. This is the trading. I'm really just hoping you get an experience for buying a stock and what happens, and you can see it move, and you can see how it tracks, and you can try and make money doing that. It's just to get a good feel for the stock. Okay, maybe when you win $500, right? But so let's say I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy a certain ETF that I trade, right? I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to go over here, and I know I want to put in. I want to go to stock game. Right here. I'm going to go to trade stocks, right there. ETFs and stocks. Okay, it comes up with this screen here. Okay, you guys know what a ticker is? Like a ticker symbol for so you can type in the actual. Like if I want to buy Apple, I can type in Apple, but the ticker is AAPL. If I want to buy NVIDIA, I can type in NVIDIA, but also the ticker is NVDA. You can figure out how to find it. You can just type in the name and it'll come up. But I'm going to do, there's a stock I'm going to buy, an ETF I'm going to buy. Oops. I'm buying an ETF. It's a bearish ETF on semiconductors, right? Now, semiconductors are really hot right now. I think they're too hot. I'm like, this is crazy. I think it's going to come crashing down. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to try it anyway. So if you see me in the last place tomorrow, then that's why.
When you're bullish on the market, it means like you think it's going to go up, and when you're bearish, you think it's going to
Sorry,
go
that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I think the market is really hot right now. I think it's got to cool down a little bit. I don't think it's going to come crashing down. I think at some point buyers are going to go, should I made a lot of money? Let me go in and sell, so I'll take my profits, right? And start selling. Because the way, in my opinion, the way prices, supply and demand, everything economics, right? Markets work the same way, supply and demand, right? If the stock's in high demand, people are having a lot of sells or a lot of buys, then the price will fluctuate. That's just my take. But again, you could also, this is not, don't go out and do this in your real money and say, oh, this what is it? No financial, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, that's my disclaimer. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick that stock. Now, yes, you can short. I'll talk about it in just a second. Okay, so this stock is worth, because I want to get the most out of I want to buy as much as I can without missing I can't put $100,000, man, so you got to put $10,000 in. So I'm gonna take 10,000, and I'm gonna divide by 2066. The price per share is 2066, okay? So I'm gonna take $10,000, my little calculator, $10,000, and I'm gonna divide by the price per share, which is 2066. And I'm gonna, it says 484, so I can buy 484 shares and keep myself below $10,000, because remember, you cannot, it'll say no, and I'll put it here in just a second and see if it'll let me. Yeah. So let me put in here, I'm gonna put 483, just because I don't know. All right, oh, that's not right, sorry. So right there where it tells you how many quantity of I'm gonna buy 483. So I'm gonna come down here, and it's going to say, I'm gonna click to preview. So it says I'm underneath $10,000, just barely, which is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy that. So I'm gonna click to confirm, and then see how this is like really not doing well today. I knew that because I'm in the other side of it. It's not really doing well. I think it's going to turn around tomorrow. Like I'm just guessing. Yeah. So don't take my word for it. Okay. So I'm going to click to confirm, and it worked. No. Sure it worked. It takes a little bit of time. Okay. You go back. All right, but that's how you do it, right? Go to that trade page, find out what you want to buy, and you put in there what you want to purchase, right? Again, what's going to happen is at the very end of 6 weeks, right? At the end of the 6 weeks, I think it's July, Friday. I forgot. It's on the account, right? It's going to cut off, and whoever's the winner, whoever has the most P&L, the most profit at that time, wins the $500. That's how it works. We got it. Okay. You can short sell, right? You can't short sell. I don't know if you know what shorting. Okay. So you can, I wouldn't if you're not sure what it is, right? So you can short sell, which means you bet against that stock, right? So I can take, I think Apple's going to tank. I can short Apple and go, I think it's going to, and make money by shorting it, right? All that means is I'm asking the broker for so much Apple. When I buy Apple, let's say I buy it $100 and it goes down to $80. I sell it at $80, I make $20 out of it. I buy it back. I give the shares back to the company, or back to my broker, and I say, oh, I made the $20. I would stay away from that unless your parents, if you ask your parents, they know how to do that. Not so loud. Okay, but that's the idea. Let me see. They put
Can you borrow money?
No. Oh, margin?
Right. Can you do that?
I think I have it as a cash account. What he means by that basically is there's
I don't know. It says buying power 200,000.
Oh, it does.
You can.
Oh, it does. Okay, so yes, thank you for saying that. You have the, what they have, it's called a margin account. So $100,000 is your cash you put in. You can trade on more than that, up to $200,000. That's up to you. You want to do that. But when you do that, you're borrowing money. So it's like 8%. So you're going to have to pay a little bit to do that. But if you think you're right and you got something you really like, then by all means you can do that. If you have any kind of questions, I'm gonna give you verbalize my email. By all means, it's my school email. If you have a question about any of this stuff, please email me, contact me. I love talking about this stuff anyway. So yeah. So let me know. Okay. So I think let me see if I got in. Let me just check to see if the contest is here. Go slow because it's going so fast. Okay. So there are a couple people that did join. Great. I don't think it gave me my stock. Well, it didn't give me my stock. All right. Well, for some reason it gave me my stock, but it should have. All right. But the game has started. I mean, it started today. You have till the market's open at 8:30, right? So you can make trades between 8:30 and 3 o'clock. If you put something in after that time, it'll kick in the next morning. So be careful, right? If you do something that night, it won't give it to you that night. It'll kick in the next morning. And go ahead and leave it as a market. Here, let me go through this one more time. Sorry. I just want to make sure you're not confused. And there's like guides in here to help you. But let me try this one more time because I want to make sure you guys get to see this. Let me just do one more. Let's see if I can try it again. I'll just buy 100 shares. That's all right. Let me just buy 100 shares. Maybe we'll do it. Oh, okay, there, I don't know why. Maybe it was too much money. Okay, so I bought 100 shares of this. Now I go to my, let's see. If I go to my portfolio summary, and there's different ways you can get to this, but if you go to this right here, it shows me that, oops, that's not what I want. Sorry, almost in here, sorry. I want my open position, sorry. Let me show you. Okay. So it shows that I bought, the order hasn't triggered yet. It's sometimes delayed because people who play this game, they use a real brokerage account and they kind of cheat. So they kind of have delays here. But yeah, that's how much I bought, excuse me. And there you go it's going to show your profit and loss, right? Okay, once you get, I think once you play around with it a little bit, there are ads. You guys don't know how to do ad blockers. You might want to block the ads on this because it's crazy. Yeah, it just kind of gets crazy. If you want to do an ad blocker on that, which I think most of you can, we're pretty savvy about that. The other one does not have it. The budget game does not have that. You don't have to worry about that. I don't know, any other questions? It'd be great if you could sign it now. I don't know if you can do that right now. Is there a way you can, I want to make sure you get signed in. Do you know they have a link?
I have a link, I can send it to everybody.
Yeah.
I think we can also do it on my computer if students need to sign up.
Yeah. I don't know if, I just want to make sure they get in. I don't know how to. Let me give you, how would you?
They can probably sign up on their phone.
Yeah.
Stop recording.
Oh, yeah.
Or the
Sorry.
kids online. No, you're good.
I bet you can sign
There
up
is-
on your phone too.
Oh, hold on. There is one, let me show. But you can, like, let me show you something real quick in this game here, real quick. You can do, where is it? Financial analyst. Analyst ratings. There's something called analyst ratings. Like, so other people, like people who do this for a living, will look at these companies and say, hey, here's what's good, and then they'll rate these companies, right? So if you don't, like, I don't know how to rate a company, and that's not what I get paid for. I mean, but people here at this place do, and that's what they do for a living, right? So if I do analyst rating, let's say I want to pick, somebody give me a company, just give me a stock, whatever it would like. Anybody, throw it out there. Amazon, okay, Amazon. That's always a big one. If I put in Amazon right here, this is under financial, AMZN, what is it? Right? There you go. Okay, I put in Amazon, it'll give you like a strong buy. Like other people rate like 46, there's like analyst reports, right? These are actual legit, they take it off the website, right? These are analyst reports, this is a very strong buy, right? And it kind of gives you, yeah, it's pretty much just analyst. Okay, in its industry, it's ranked number 2. So Amazon's a very good company, right? So you want to invest in Amazon, by all means, invest in Amazon. That's a great company to buy into. NVIDIA right now is hot. It's very hot, right? I think a little too hot, but that's just me. Maybe it keeps going up. I don't know. But these are things you want to try and get into. Yeah. Oh, and Ms. Robert might have some better companies to purchase.
I don't think.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So again, if you over diversify, right? You only put like $1,000 here and $2,000 here. Yes, you'll do okay, I think. But you only have 6 weeks to make a lot of money, right? So you got to kind of be aggressive. And being aggressive just means putting, like I said, you can get up to, well, I say $200,000. You can, there's a margin account, so when you use that margin, you can and throw as much as you can. I max out how much I can put into each position. That'll help you or hurt you, but that's the best way to kind of get to. You can invest in mutual funds, that's fine too, but again, I think those are.
They're not gonna make you win.
No, not in 6 weeks, maybe in 20 years, which is what you want to do. That's the real stuff, but yeah, this is more fun. Yeah.
We have a saying that you concentrate to grow wealth and diversify to keep wealth.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Mr. Bo is about creating wealth, concentrate.
No, I get it. That's a good one. Okay. Yes, I don't know. The last thing would be trying to get them in. I don't know how to do that. But if we can get you signed up, some of you are already signed up, or if you think you don't think it's a problem to get in, because I want to get. So for the investment game, it started today, right? You can start investing in the next, 52 minutes. It closes at 3 o'clock, right? But you can buy a stock today if you want to, if you get in the next like 50 minutes. But if not, you can do it tomorrow. But it has started today, right? So I just bought that one thing today. For the budget game, on that one, it's going to cut you off. So when you play it, right, it takes about 10, 12 minutes to do 1 month of the game, right? So in the game, it's going to take you down the month, right? It takes about actual time, about 10 to 12 minutes, right? You want to do, I'm going to allow you to do 2 months a week. So you can't do all 12 months in one sitting. I used to be able to, but it cuts you off at 2. So you'll be able to do 2 months at a time. So every week, it would be good to do 2 months of that game, right? As you go along. That way you take your time. You don't try and rush through it because you want to take your time. You want to try and win. Everything counts. Everything you buy, everything you do, it counts. So go ahead and when it opens it up for you, it's going to take you through it. It's going to give you a tutorial. Please go ahead and do that. But I kind of gave you the hints as to how to do well, right? Which is how it works in real life too, I think. But yes, but that one's not like a time, like you don't have to get into today, you're trying to get into it as soon as you can, so by Friday you played your 2 months, you can do that. You can, what are the prizes again? Sorry, I don't know.
So budget game and stock game both have first, second, third. $500 for first prize, $200 for second prize, and $100 for third prize. So if you were really good, you could make $1,000.
It's that cash?
It's gonna be a card.
Credit, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, debit card,
Okay.
yep.
Beautiful, all right. Any other big questions you have, any questions? I'll be here for the next few minutes, till 3 o'clock, so if you want to try and stay and get in, you want to try and, if you think you can do it on your own, right? And if there are links, but the links work, right? Somebody got in on both of those, I think, both working, so.
Do you want to talk about tracking?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, thank you. So we're gonna send that as
I'll send it out.
a Google form?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kayla will send a Google form to you, to your parents or to the email. Every week, we need you to fill that out. It's kind of probably gonna take about 5 minutes. It's just a progress report. How you're doing in the budget game and how you're doing in the investment game, right? But that qualifies you for the prizes, right? So if you, okay, let's just say you, I'm just gonna buy all my stocks now, and you happen to win, but that's all you do, they're not.
You're disqualified from winning because you didn't do your progress report.
Right.
So the weekly check-in is
Yes.
essential.
Yes. Yeah, because normally these boot camps are like 1 week, right? And I didn't want to bore you too much, it's still 1 day, right? But I want you on your own to keep track of that. And it takes maybe, literally, if you do it the right way, hour a week at the most, right?
Just set a weekly reminder.
Yeah. Hour a week of trying to invest in stocks. So here's the thing about the stock game though. The quicker you get in, depending on where the market goes, right? You gotta be in the market to win. Right? If you're just sitting in cash, once the market takes it, goes south, then you'll be doing better if you're not in the market, obviously, but that's what you gotta kind of understand. So you gotta look at the market as a whole. Again, maybe talk to your parents, do some research online. Do you think the market's going the right way? Like right now, interest rates are high. They're coming down. Is the Fed going to lower them? And things like that dictate the market. That's hopefully what you get into and what you learn how to do. Is just do some research and figure out how markets go just on a fundamental basis. That's all. All right, sweet. Good. Thank you very much. You were great. I mean, you didn't have your phones out or anything. That was fantastic. Only have to tell you. Good job. Good job. Very great. It was nice to meet you.